Okay, we are on the air, and this is the Science and Health broadcast podcast. We have Shining in the room. Cyrus may be in the room or may not be in the room right now. I don't know. He's taking a short break. We're going to talk about Mgtow today. We're going to talk about the BBC, feminist marketing of the media. We'll probably talk about. Oops. Yeah, let me turn that off. I made that mistake, didn't I? Uh, we'll probably get into a little bit of Ronda Rousey today, huh? That was an interesting topic. How do you
Yeah.
feel about Ronda Rousey and the press, the free press that she receives from the gynocentric?
Mm. Yeah, she just defended her belt again, and surprise, surprise. I don't know. It seems like they just keep feeding her puppets. But yeah, something which I thought was quite strange is how desexualized she is. You know how desexualized the entire UFC women's is, and I thought that was interesting. The fact that they don't actually try to make them sex symbols, which I'm not saying is a good or a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that women do seem to be less and less regarded just for their sexual, what's the word? Their sexual value.
Her sexual value. Yeah, she is a pretty girl, and you can't. It's undeniable. She's very fit.
Mm-hmm.
She's 135 pounds, and she's got quite great muscle tone.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I don't think it needs to be said. I think it's all right there. She has the total package, and they just don't need to say that she's not a heavy girl. And that she's not going to spin that narrative. But she gets the white knighting, doesn't she? She gets all the white knighting. We've seen with LeBron James this week come on and said LeBron James, a 270-pound, 6'9" male, 6'11" male, said, "Ooh, I'm afraid of her."
Yeah, I mean, we saw this when she called out that boxer,
Yeah,
uh,
the
and
boxer.
and she said that she could probably beat him in a mixed martial arts fight, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to see that, but the problem is, as a lot of people pointed out, if she won, that would make him look like such a loser.
Yeah.
But if he won, it would make him look like an abusive man
An
beating a
abusive
woman.
man. Yeah.
So there's no
Well,
win for him.
we've seen this play out in the '80s or the '70s with Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And Bobby Riggs was a 61-year-old man at that time, and Jean King was 35. So obviously she beat him. Uh, there was no real contest there, but the way they spun it was,
Mm.
look, the females are just as good dimorphically as the males, and that's not true.
Of course, it's not true. Of course, it's not. I mean, there's no doubt she's a great fighter. But any fighter will tell you that no matter how great a woman is, there's going to be uh, so many more men that's going to be better than her. She probably fights like I would say I'm sticking my neck out a bit here. Probably like an average welterweight fighter. I think. There's no way she's going to go in there with any of the top. She
Yeah.
might take on Mighty Mouse Johnson. I think she might have a chance. But anybody else, the lightweights, the middleweights, welterweights, I think she'd be in big trouble.
Yeah. They could
But
just
everybody
get
else.
some palooka or a bum off the street like a crackhead,
So,
and she can have like the bum beatdowns by Ronda Rousey,
Bobby. Oh, was it? Didn't you mention a video earlier about how Sandman made a video about why women love bums?
Yeah, he did a video this week on why. Well, and I thought I didn't listen to the whole video because I was immediately put off by the narrative that he was reading a letter, and the guy said women like bums, and I was like, well, that is so untrue. Women do. We know women are hypergamous. They like quality males that display that peacock wealth and
Mm.
power. A bum does not display peacock. He has no ability to display wealth and power, and yeah, maybe they're coming at it from an empathetic. Women display empathy towards broken males in a certain case.
Yeah, yeah, I would say yeah that would be the only validity in that. Women are very emotional creatures. I would say they are more easily manipulated and more intimidated, and they are
Yeah,
more what's the word now? They can be. I think they can be shamed more easily as well. You make them think, why aren't you helping this poor man? Why aren't you
yeah. Why don't you
this
help? And yeah,
poor
but
bum?
we see examples of this in Mgtow with the Mgtow mother thing. Uh, they come around. They want to be empathetic towards men and display that mothering, nurturing quality that some of them have, and some we know some of them don't have. And it's offensive to the Mgtow community. It was oh God, someone had just brought up Karen from GWW had someone called her the Mgtow mother, the mother of Mgtow, and nobody called that out. I think it was Coltrane.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Nobody called him out on that, like calling her the mother of Mgtow, because that's Mgtow's not about that. That's offensive to Mgtow. And then we
Yeah.
have these other ones that call themselves the mother of Mgtow, and
Mm,
but it's all an empathy thing, isn't it? You're just feeling empathy for what you consider as a broken man.
mm, mm.
So,
That's right, and it's only human nature, to have pity. I mean, we say there's something wrong with somebody when they don't have compassion and empathy. It's only natural, isn't it? I'm trying to think of a case
yeah,
when people don't. I think that there is some really traumatic or big mental issue when somebody
right,
no
yeah.
longer has sympathy.
Yeah. There's some issues, but as I like to say, I'm not broken anymore. I'm pissed.
Oh well, that leads us nicely on to the other point. I mean, I woke up this morning to a War Drums Fire video, and he was criticizing, and I'm on War Drums Fire here. He was
Yeah.
criticizing Stardust's video for
Okay.
being
Okay.
so heartless. He was saying, Stardust apparently is saying, these men who suffer red pill rage,
Yeah.
they need to sort themselves out because it's not good for them. And it was something that we've been talking about.
Right. Yeah.
Me,
We talk a lot.
Messenger,
Yeah.
yeah, you and Wajum Sai was saying it's not rage at all. It's just these
No.
men. Yeah, these men are now just changing their point of view. What appears to be rage to you is just guys who are, going their own way.
Right. Yeah. There's aggression factors in there. I think we talked about the aggression factors, and some people with lesser aggression would perceive men with more aggression as being angry. Uh,
That's right. It's all relative. Any emotion is relative to the person seeing it.
yeah.
If you're in a very angry mood, everybody's going to going to appear to be in a more happy mood, and vice versa.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of things that go along with that. Like Messenger was saying, uh, this is not. This is not a process of grieving because grieving goes away. This is a process of, and you have to understand it from the male's point of view in that situation. And unless you've ever experienced that situation, you're not going to be able to fully comprehend or extend or explain it to yourself. That and I put it simply that when I look across my room, I don't see my kids anymore. That's something that's not going to go away. No matter what I do, I can't fix that. And I have to live with that every single day. So if I'm a little bit angry about that, well, hell yeah.
Absolutely, and I actually never understood this issue as well. Red pill rage. It was just something, just a term I used to hear bandied about.
Yeah.
But since a couple of us have been talking about it, I certainly do not understand why people just can't comprehend that men's lives change.
Yeah.
His life is no longer the same. You can't
No.
expect him to go back to the way things were. That's
Yeah.
not red pill rage. That's him going his own way. I mean, isn't that what Mgtow's all about?
Yeah. That's going your own way, trying to deal with it and trying to come to grips with how you've been lied to. About the marriage issues, about what I should have did, and you look back at your life and say, I could have did this, I could have did this or this, and that's not going to happen now. There's issues of time lost now,
Mm.
memories lost.
It's not only that. It's just the realization that the life you thought you could
Yeah,
have is
it's
a is
totally.
impossibility. It's the shattering of the American dream,
Yeah, the
for lack of
shattering
better
of it.
words.
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
realize that it's just a dream, and life isn't like that. You can't have that little picket fence and the
yeah,
little cottage in the countryside and have your 2.5 kids.
yeah.
That's
That's an
not.
yeah, it's an attractive fairy tale. Uh, I mean, geez, I want to be Prince Charming. I want the white horse. I want the pretty girl. That's not an unattractive fairy tale, but that's what we fall for. That that attractive fairy tale, that romanticism, how
Mm,
we perceived it, how the stories were told to us, how they were told they were supposed to work out this way, and then bam, what a lie.
mm. Yeah, I mean, I was just saying to one of our brothers that it's not rage. I mean, no one's been killed.
No, nobody's
Mgtow
getting
hasn't
killed.
killed anyone. No ex-wives have been attacked. No
Yeah.
government. No one's conspired against the government. It's just us going our own way. That's not
Yeah,
rage.
we're
It's not
going our
anger.
way. Isn't it, like you said, the wording just kind of came up, and isn't it the newest Mgtow neo-logoism? Red
Yeah.
pill rage, it's just something to throw about and see
I
how.
don't know. Another brother, he sort of pointed out, it's it appears that they're asking us to go back to the plantation, as he put it. And
Yeah,
I don't normally use that term, but that's what it appears. These guys are saying, "Oh, red pill rage, go, get over the rage, get over the anger, and go back to how life used to be." I mean,
yeah,
is that really what these guys are saying? I don't know. This is how some perceive it.
yeah. Get yourself a baby mama and
Yeah, yeah,
jump right
yeah.
back in on that, because
That,
next time you'll do better.
Yeah, next time you do better, get over your anger. Just you're equipped now with our new knowledge, and now you can navigate the dangerous world of feminism, gynocentrism, and hypergamy. Go for it, guys.
Yeah, go for that one. Yeah, I tell everybody, you want some of that? Go get two of them because you can have mine.
Get on Tinder and get married.
Yeah.
We was on a conversation last night, wasn't it? And somebody said Tinder's not for marriage. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you could, I suppose, but it's a little more for those, vigorous things that we do. Oh my, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Cyrus is back. Did you get something to eat, brother?
Yes, I did. I did. I got some chicken lasagna there that I made
Oh,
earlier.
cool. Okay, let me leave you guys a few minutes, and I'm just going to pop out. You guys can continue the topic.
okay, yeah. So we were going through Ronda Rousey and how that, but it's all boils down to the media and how the media embraces feminism, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't in the marketplace, the way things are supposed to work in a marketplace, like
Hmm.
media. Uh, they should call us. We get an interview. There's monetary you know, issues talked about. You decide how you're supposed to do it, and what was the narrative that's going to be spun, and all those things should be very set in AP News. And but when it comes to male rights, they show their bias, don't they? They show their ass. Uh, they would give these considerations to feminist groups, but they don't give the consideration to the male group, and that's
Yeah.
my problem with this, because they're disobeying capitalist rules.
They are and they aren't. It goes back to the history of advertising. I was actually going to go into this a little bit later on, but I'll skim over it just now. In terms of the psychology involved in this, and psychology is a very, very powerful tool.
Yeah,
As I've often explained, it's not a science, but it is an intuitive mechanism through which human behavior can be manipulated.
right.
When you look back at, say, for example, the Bears Soap Company,
Yeah,
this is essentially where it all started. People don't know this because the information hasn't been made available to them. So, if it's okay
uh,
with you, Joe, I'm going to go into this a little bit.
yeah. The bear soap, that was Holly, the singer Holly. She was the little girl in the soap commercial. Is that the one?
Yeah, yeah. But before that, you had Thomas J. Barrett, who was a
Okay.
psychologist. He was in the employ of Pear Soap Company in 1891. This goes back quite a long time, bear in mind.
Oh, okay.
So the
Yeah,
Pear Soap Company was one of the first ones to implement a lot of these psychological tactics.
yeah.
And of course, you, Joe, mentioned the other day Edward Bernays.
Bernays.
Yes, who a lot of people aren't familiar with,
That's
who was the
Freud's nephew, isn't it?
That's absolutely correct, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was a psychologist as well, and he lent his services to various corporations, including the Pear Soap Company in 1910.
Okay.
He was the inventor of mass marketing, essentially, that was designed to influence public behavior on a very large scale. And later he was, of course, then employed by the tobacco industry that hired him to create these positive associations with
Yeah,
smoking tobacco.
I remember the girl on New York Street standing there smoking the cigarette. That
That's
was,
correct.
yeah.
What happened there, and you've hit upon that essentially, is when demand among men had basically reached saturation point for the company, Bernays suggested that women start being encouraged to take up smoking. And so the advertising started to become more channeled and geared towards women and promoting smoking amongst them, and to try and equate that bridge between male and female behavior artificially, which hadn't been done before.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of people don't actually know that the very first, and this essentially, what I'm about to tell you, refutes the feminist concept of patriarchy hands down.
Okay.
And this is that the very first sexual cell, you know how they always talk about how sex is used in marketing?
Right. Yeah. That didn't come
Um,
till later. Yeah.
yeah, and when that did come in, the very first time that was used wasn't actually far off from when Barrett started. It was in 1917, and it was a
1917.
woman who implemented this. It was a lady by the name of Helen Resser who worked for the Woodbury facial soap company,
Okay.
and so that was the very first instance of the sexual cell. Later, of course, as the company's profits began to roll in, they found in the 1920s another psychologist by the name of John B. Watson.
Okay.
Watson was a former chair of Johns Hopkins University, and he began to implement the use of behavioral psychology into advertising in order to promote more women purchasing things. And I'll tell you why in a minute in regards to that. Uh, after he'd gotten done with what he was doing in terms of his mass marketing campaigns aimed towards women, in
Okay.
the 60s when television came along, there was a chap by the name of Ernest Dictor who was also a psychologist. You'll notice there's an
Okay.
inherent link and a bond between
Right.
advertising and
Yes.
psychology.
Now I wanted to
And
take this thing way, way, way back. Doesn't Plato give the soap salesman? He gives the soap salesman reference to conservative versus liberal. Uh,
yes,
yes, and even as far back as Socrates in Plato, it was there was this same soap thing where Plato gives the reference. I didn't want to interrupt you, but you go on.
no, you're absolutely right. In fact, we can trace a woman's cosmetic um, beauty standards, if you like, all the way back to ancient Egypt and so forth.
Yeah, with
We won't do that just now, but I'm
yeah,
just trying to sort of give a rough overview to the listeners here. Um, a lot of people aren't familiar with how Dictor actually used television commercials, and this is where television stations started getting infiltrated by advertising corporations. When they started buying airtime, which was the only way at the time to finance
right.
keeping your station afloat. For example, Westinghouse, the electrical company back in the day, they were very well known for sponsoring certain television programs in their day, which we still do today. Of course, the tradition has continued, but they were one of the first companies to do that. Um, but there are six advertising steps in what's called advertising theory that they adhere to. The first is awareness. So you have to make the consumer aware of a product they don't need, and you have to
Okay.
push them in psychological ways in order for them to acquire that. The second being knowledge of the product. The third being liking, preference, conviction, and purchase in consecutive order. 4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
Um, and they use these means of covert advertising and something that's called semiotics in psychology. Now, here's a funny thing, Joe. Most people that have studied psychology do not know these things. People that have studied media and
Yes.
marketing don't
Yeah.
know these things historically. They never make them take exams on any of this or learn about it because they just want them to function as cogs in the machine.
Right. Yeah. The advertisers know these things, and that's a separate group of people.
That's correct. And they do, one of the key tenets that they subscribe to is to incorporate a lot of symbolism into TV advertising. This is basic dictate for psychology and advertising if you want to study this in depth. Um, but the use of semiotics, where they use signs and symbols that are encoded into everyday objects,
Okay.
is very prevalent. And I'll touch on this before I go into the thing with the women and how women are influenced by this.
Okay.
Um, Oftentimes, they'll incorporate certain images, certain words. Esso, for example, the gasoline company that was
Yes.
previously Standard Oil.
Yes. It's
Uh,
a neo-logoism.
that's correct, and they used to use the symbol of a tiger because it was very prevalent among those who wanted to see themselves as powerful, i.e., the drivers at the time. And similarly, they use a lot of colors as well. What you
Yeah.
will find if you carefully watch television, there is a lot of symbolism in most advertisements, but there's also the use of colors. And in color
Right.
psychology, this influences the mind to a great extent.
Yes. We can see
Uh,
this with the civil religion and the use of flags and statues and stuff like that. Also. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, most certainly this is true. So the colours that you tend to find in advertisements, and if you look out for them, you will see these. Red and blue, for example, or red and white are used quite a lot, or green and white
Green and white.
in combinations, and these produce various effects in terms of how you're able to psychologically and hypnotically induce certain states in people.
Oh.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, again, there's reasons for this in terms of psychiatry as well, and also physics, because each color actually has a frequency on the color spectrum,
Yeah.
and the brain itself also has a frequency at which it operates. And so, if you can superimpose a certain frequency onto the brain, you can make people think in the way that you want them to think. It's again a little bit complex, but to keep it to basics, that's essentially how advertising works.
Yeah. No, I heard something, and tell me if it's true or not. If you think it's true. Red cars are almost transparent to people.
This is correct.
They
Uh,
they get in more accidents and they get in more a red car. Although it is a bright color and a bird would be able to see it
mhm,
and more fluently because they have more optical sensors in their eyes. The amount
yes.
of optical sensors we have kind of makes it go away, doesn't it?
It's to do with how we perceive things,
We
human
perceive it.
perception.
Yeah.
The brain doesn't necessarily perceive the color red in the same way that perhaps another animal might. You know,
Right.
an animal that may use infrared, for example, bats and so forth. When they're using echolocation, there's a very interesting theory that Professor Richard Dawkins came up with in terms of how bats actually can see and hear in color. They
Oh,
actually
yeah.
hear it in color. It's a profound thing. So other animals can see and hear things that we can't, and to them, different colors mean different things. But to human psychology and to the way our brains function, certain colors just kind of go below the radar, so to speak. We don't notice it. Uh,
Yeah.
Popular companies, not to give them any, extra advertising since they,
Yeah. Free
you know,
advertising. They got enough.
yeah, they got enough, you know. But if you look at the popular companies, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, McDonald's, these companies, Starbucks, you name it, they all use these color coding mechanisms. Even Amazon with their yellow and white, and Subway,
Okay.
the sandwich companies, they've employed people to come up with these logos. They wouldn't pay hundreds of millions of dollars for nothing.
Yeah.
So they know what they're doing. They know their onions.
Oh, I was thinking about the Mgtow logo and the yellow and black and how genius that is.
Yeah, it is an excellent idea, and it does hit home because you can't help but notice that. It goes back to that thing, like for example, with bumblebees and wasps. Why are they color coded in the way they are naturally?
Yeah.
There's a whole branch of science devoted to that, and that's a very interesting field to study as well for some people. But to get back on track with what we were
Yeah. Get
talking
back to
about,
the marketing. Yeah.
so this guy who was a philosopher and part-time economist of sorts called Thorstein Veblen, I'm sure you've heard of him. He
Okay.
came up with some very, very interesting ideas in his book Conspicuous Consumption.
Okay. Yeah, I did read that. Okay.
So this is where we get the term Veblen goods from from economists. Veblen goods are basically things that you don't need, that don't perform any particular function, but we're assigning an arbitrary value to them within society. So, say for example, gold, diamonds, silver. How are the values of these things being set? It's not by the free market as people think. What happens is uh, people decide that this thing is valuable at a particular point in time, or people
Right.
decide a thing is valuable at a certain time. This is why you see the price of gold fluctuating as it does, because if the banking mechanisms that are there and the people that control those, if they decide one day gold's valuable, then gold's valuable. If they decide it's not going to be valuable, i.e., they want the currency to hold stronger instead of the gold, which is where people start investing, and they can start to change those around as they see fit. It's very easy to do.
Right. Yeah, we see a great example of this at our shopping market, in our grocery stores, our shopping markets. When you get up to the cash register, what do you see all around you? Uh,
Exactly.
we see the books,
Mhm.
the magazines that with all the stars in them. We see gums and
That's right.
candies and all of that, and it's compulsive buying. And he did a very good chapter in that book about compulsive buying, didn't he?
That's correct. He did do. He explained that very phenomenon, and this is where, see, what happened was all these fields of study, psychology, economics, all these things. The corporations that were there started incorporating all of these different facets of human behavioral psychology into the one thing, where they could use that to their advantage. That's a pretty normal thing to do, I suppose, if you want to be the top dog.
Yeah.
But Veblen also commented on the fact that women are far more natural consumers, and because they originally within traditionalism they tended to control the budget of the household.
Right. Yeah. The
Uh,
80%. Yeah.
yeah, and so in Veblen's time he noticed that, and he realized that the buying power wasn't in the hands of men but in the hands of women, and because of the effects of narcissism over time as well, women obviously began to purchase these beauty products and so forth to a larger extent than men did. So he had come to the conclusion that advertising essentially should be aimed at women, and so that they can spend men's money for this concept of conspicuous consumption, keeping up with the Joneses and so
Yeah.
forth. So women essentially have decided the general direction of how economies have gone forward. Guys at the moment don't realize this. They don't know that's how it's functioned. They think they've always had the buying power. They certainly haven't. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we can see that in the press. And back to the Ronda Rousey thing, the
Mhm.
females are starved for a female sports figure, and they attach to that, and there's a lot of money. I looked at the price of that thing, and it was 30, it was 47 to $68, I think, to order it online, and I thought, wow, that's a tremendous amount that they're going to get for. And they did a very good job advertising it. It was all over everything. But
Yeah.
all the females in a household are going to click on that, and I don't know.
Exactly.
I haven't looked this morning to see what the actual what they had actually made, but that would be
Mhm.
interesting to do. Uh, Now, how can we relate this to the Mgtow issue? We have our logo. It's a very good logo. Uh,
Mhm.
it's almost genius in a ways. It describes. It's colorful. It's yellow and black. It's got a sign on it. It describes us very perfectly. But
Yes.
after that, what do we have to do? And that's we're like the we're struggling now to understand that we have to. And I don't think we're struggling to understand. We all know at a certain point that we have
Mhm.
to play the game here in MGTOW, don't we?
Well, yeah, I mean, there is a larger game to be played, and that is between what we might call loosely the powers that be and the man who is trying to go his own way.
Yeah, and
And
it's a marketing game. If you boil it down to the bare essence of this,
mm,
we're just gonna have to market, and we're gonna have to do these things and be a little shameful. Uh, Employ the empathy of females and go at that, and then go with our logo and go with you know uh, and this is a good buy. Let's say let's project ourselves as Mgtow is a good buy, and you can get a
mhm.
good man. And I don't know if that's the message that we want to send, but it's an attractive message.
It is an interesting message. I think the direction you've sort of hit on it essentially is if Mgtow wants to grow as a philosophy and propagate, as it were, one of the best things you can do is become well informed. If you're informed of the mechanisms that these companies use in order to sell their products, if you become informed of what type of symbology works and how it works and what it's
Yeah,
all to do with, then you can start to implement that in within Mgto content, for example, that
right.
one might create.
We see
Uh,
this with a few of the producers now. Sandman's very good at it.
yeah,
Like him, hate him, say what you want with him, but he's a marketing genius. You know,
mhm.
uh, in
Oh, I
there,
won't disagree with that. I mean, the content is a separate thing entirely, but as far as the marketing is concerned, yes, if you know the ins and outs of it, you can use it to your advantage, so to speak, and gain the upper hand against your opponent. And the opponent in this case is society at large. Yeah.
right? Yeah. What would you? It's selling out a little, but hey, that's the world we live in, isn't it? There's a natural order to this thing. Unless we want to change things, we have to play and sell out just a little, and then take back a little, and then men are naturally aggressive. This thing will go in it'll go in a general sense that we think it's going to go because of our aggression and our huge brains.
Well, I wouldn't call it selling out, not by any standard.
Yeah,
Selling out would be if we were using those methods that we had learned, let's say,
right.
and we were
The
beginning
shaming,
to,
yeah.
yes, yeah, and we gave in to the larger parts of society which are insisting upon conforming. That would be selling out to me. I think anything else, the employment of certain subtle strategies and so forth,
Yeah,
isn't selling out. That's holding your own ground really more than anything else. And as Mgtow, we should be doing that certainly.
yeah, we see a little of that going on right now with Shiny brought up the Stardust issues and how he wants to market his product, and then Sandman, he was he's against Sandman, and with the it's the first time I've ever seen it, and Stardust made some very unpopular videos that's got a lot of downvotes, and I think it was sensed in the community that he threw a few people under the bus, and he sold out a little bit. And there, like you said, there is a difference here between uh, knowing the limits of crafty marketing and knowing the limits of selling out, and that's what we have to modulate into a place where we all know these things
Yeah,
and present ourselves a little better.
Mm.
but
Well,
sorry,
can
on
I
you
add
go,
a,
Roland.
yeah, can I add in on there? Well, the fact is, people know it works. When marketing works and it sells uh, let's face it, Sandman, Stardust, they're popular channels, and they've turned that popularity into donations. They've turned donations into a moneymaker.
Yeah,
I've always said that when that happens on any truth-seeking, for lack of better words, channel, that's gonna compromise the content. That's gonna compromise the material. Are you now trying to establish the truth? Are you now trying to seek the truth? Are you expanding knowledge? Are you trying to help men, or are you just trying to collect donations? It's something I've always said that
yeah.
the two are normally not compatible.
Well, I would agree with you on that to a large extent. I think that the self-contained man, the man who is truly a man going his own way, a true Mgto, if you will, is able to live a life through which he can support himself. He should not require the donations of others, I don't think, in order to subsist. But when it becomes a question of putting that as your sole livelihood, that's when I would begin to doubt the content of people in terms of what they're putting out there. If it's dependent upon, if it becomes absolutely centered upon the acquisition of money for selfish purposes, I think we have to start questioning the motives of people ever so slightly. I'm not suggesting that
Right.
that their characters are in question per se. I'm just saying that in terms of
Well,
the
well, the signs were there. I mean, everybody knows Sandman's material is a lot weaker than it started off. He's, when your videos and your content is a lot more wishy-washy, a lot less grounded in facts and in established, in established what's the word now? Well, take for example Sargon of Akkad. He basically found that the more controversial his videos were, the bigger response he had. So he's based almost his entire channel just on anti-immigration. He's made a career out of being quite racist. I'm going to call him out on that. If you look at his content, almost like from beginning to end, he's got a very, very anti-immigration, anti-Muslim, very racist tone to it. And I was sad to see Stardust going down that route with his.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to consider our core values too, don't we? We have a set of core values. They're unspoken core values, but the one core value is accountability and responsibility in
Yeah,
your life.
I was saying that. I was saying that one of the things. I mean, I know, Joe, you've heard me say this before, but to be a Mgtow, you must be willing to admit when you're wrong. You must be willing. If somebody brings you evidence, if someone shows you facts that brings your beliefs into question, as a Mgtow, you must be willing to entertain at least the idea that perhaps you might be wrong. And we have to be humble in that. You can't be stubborn in your belief just because either one it makes you more money, or number two it makes you feel good. Surely that's
well,
the case.
I would agree with a lot of that. I think just to touch on one of the points that you brought up in terms of immigration, for example, uh, if you can really consider what immigration is all about in the true sense, it's something that directly affects the state. The state is the one that is making decisions, arbitrary decisions upon where its borders are placed, and consequently the wars that we have with other nations are going to end up causing destabilization in those regions and ultimately do lead to higher rates of immigration. But these are things that affect the state, so you can only make anti-immigration claims or pro-immigration claims if you are a statist,
Mm.
which I mentioned yesterday with you guys. I mean, there's uh, really it kind of comes down to two issues. One is, do you believe in authoritarianism, or and the other is, are you more in favor of anti-authoritarianism? And Mgtow
That's right.
definitively, by its nature, is anti-authoritarian.
Anti-authoritarianism, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
you can't delve into those things or those arenas if you truly subscribe to the philosophy of Mgtow. I think if you're touching upon those subjects, I don't believe it's necessarily in your best interests or the best interests of men going their own way.
Mm. I absolutely agree, and that's an excellent way of putting it. And it just goes to show that when your channel is more focused on being monetized and less on establishing the truth and spreading knowledge, it does show in your content. And I don't know, it's been quite sad to see some of these established Mgtow channels going down that lane and just jumping on the YouTube bandwagon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's also I will also say this on the other side and the flip side of that coin, which is that equally, you can't dampen your own free speech. The people will judge what you say, and they will make their own judgments regarding that. So if you say something that is utterly ridiculous, then you'll get a lot of downvotes because the general populace might not agree with you. The informed populace, that is. The uninformed will never agree with you, so they don't particularly matter. But the informed persons that watch those channels might bring that up as a possible issue that conflicts with their own ethics and ethos. So
Right. Yeah. Now let's look at that in the Mgtow Plus thing. A channel comes into Mgtow and they present themselves as Mgtow, and then they get 20-30,000 followers, and then what we see a lot is they're not happy with that. So let's bring in the atheists. Okay, now you have an atheist thing, and now let's bring in the LBGT, and then that'll expand. And I think this is what Sargon was doing. He brought in the atheists, he brought in the LBGT, he brought in the Gamergate guys. Now he's got a huge base, but that's not Mgtow, and that's not what we're here for, because there is only one group we're interested in here.
Yeah, that's right, the man. Yeah, thanks for saying that, Joe. I mean, it works. I mean, you want a big channel. This is what you do.
But it works, yeah.
Yeah, you appeal to the lesbian, gay, and transsexual community. You appeal to the atheist community. These will be very, very loyal fans, and you not only that, you'll also get donations as well. I mean, but like you say, I think Mgtow can see it as well, and I think Mgtow can see that these channels that do that, it does suffer. The content suffers, their knowledge base suffers, and it becomes extremely biased. I mean, Stardust's recent hint that Mgtow can only be atheist, it's very, very worrying. It's very worrying to me.
I would agree with that. I mean, I'm an atheist myself, and I would take issue with that purely because if you say that only an absolutely objective individual can be part of a community which caters to men and their issues, and you then put an extra caveat on that, saying, well, you must be of a certain level of understanding, which is an arbitrary ideal that you've put on it, then you're not really being true to the original concept, I think.
Right, that's the fallacy. It's the if you think like I do, your life would be better fallacy.
Exactly, right. And again, the thing of it is, people will be at different levels of knowledge and understanding. This is a key thing that I've found through my life experience generally, and I'm sure you guys have as well, which is that just because you think you understand something fully doesn't necessarily mean that you do. And also, you may understand something better than the fellow next to you, but that doesn't discount his opinions and viewpoints. It doesn't make him a lesser human being just because he does not understand, perhaps, the fallacy of a belief system in which he's engaged. You can try and this is the best thing to do, is you try and educate the person about their viewpoint and say, well, have you thought about looking at it from this perspective, perhaps, or have you thought about it from that perspective? And you can inject information to help the person to gain awareness. But if their sense of awareness is at odds with yours anyway,
we see good examples of this in the marketing. Let's go back to marketing. Let's go back to businesses in general. I had once heard a man say to another man, he pointed over and he said, look at that guy. He's the stupidest guy I know, but he runs a very successful business. And that was his place there to do that. He understood that business very good. It may come off as stupid to one man, but he's seen gold in that. He struck gold in what he did. And I don't want to mention who that man was, but on air, but that was gold for him. And it goes back to what you were saying with
Well, every living being that exists responds to their immediate environment according to their own gifts. So one person might excel in a particular field.
Right.
That might be the sciences, it might be mathematics, might be electronics, might be gaming, or whatever else it may be. The other person might excel in art and poetry and creativity or business or something along these lines. So each person has something to contribute, I believe, within wider society if they have the right sort of mindset.
Yeah.
Um, I wouldn't discount anyone as being without merit until
Yeah.
I'd heard their actual perspectives and opinions and the information they'd like to share, you know?
Mm. Yeah, I mean the issue of
Yeah.
marketing and Mgtow,
Mm.
I do see a sense of over market. I mean, you can do like SEO and certain things to your video to make it spicy, to make it more searchable when you type a certain term in. But I sort of see certain channels that they sort of market themselves as some type of an authority. You know, after a while, I think sometimes we can get disillusioned. We can fall into the illusion that we've got such a big subscribers now. You know, I am an authority on Mgtow, and then comes the issue of hero worship when somebody
Right.
sees a Mgtow channel having 20,000.
Just seen a very good example of that. Um, who was the guy that just left? Had a very big. He did the business perspective of how to build a business.
Isolate Pretty Lies,
No, not Isolate Pretty
Neo
Lies.
Unplugged.
No, not Neo. Truth Over Everything, was it?
Yeah, Truth Over Everything. Yeah.
Not Truth Over Everything. Knowledge Over something. Yeah, but he just left. But he had like 10,000, 15,000 viewers. How many of those MGTOWs did he take with him when he left?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's just a shame because Mgtow was built upon self-determination. Being independent, autonomous, and just to see Mgtow having blind following of certain other channels without even considering. I mean, it goes to my point that we should always keep discussion open. I mean, I always say, we're just talking, guys. There's no need to take offense. There's no need to, to name call or do all those petty things like doxing each other and stuff. Let's discuss the issues and let's not go into hero worship. I'm going to defend Stardust no matter what he
right.
says.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys saw the comments, but I criticised something he said, and it descended into name calling. It was such a shame, but.
Well, I'll also say this though, just to be fair-minded in regards to this, that we've all got flaws. None of us are built in the image of perfection, and
Right.
so naturally, um, you're going to do or say things at certain points that don't tally with everybody else's viewpoints, and so that doesn't mean that they don't have anything positive to contribute. I think there's still a lot to be gained from people that are just getting interested in Mgtow. If they're sort of watching Sandman's videos or Stardust videos, they may be of help to them in some sense. So I wouldn't discount their content by any means, but I would say, it's just that thing that we're all flawed. So
Yeah, a
it's
fresh
good to
new
keep that in mind.
perspective sometimes is great, as hearing it coming from a different person, and it doesn't mean he's right or wrong. We have to be careful with new ideas and that stuff. But hey, just the fresh perspective, and maybe someone will hit on something we don't think of.
Yeah, yeah. It's everyone, as I say, has something valuable to contribute. Hopefully, within Mgtow, that's the great thing about it. You can have a diversity of opinions, and as long as they are backed by certain what we might call facts, or we should at least present evidence in some of the things that we're saying, and if that tallies, then good and well. It's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, if we can just keep in mind that we're all learning here. Like you said, no one's perfect. We're all going to make mistakes, and
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
one indication that you are caught up on hero worship is you'll stick to that person whether they're wrong or right. and you won't listen to any other argument, which unfortunately we saw with Sandman. Obviously, when Sandman was called out, everybody was they just stuck to him, and obviously I did a video about Thunderfoot, and nobody was addressing, well, apart from a few comments, but how the comments were just saying what a wonderful person he is, and how he's unapproachable, inapproachable, and he's infallible. You know, this hero worship amongst the manosphere. It's
But I mean, I'll also add this, is that we aren't naturally going to be inclined to do that just because we've had a lack of good male role models in society, because we've become so, I wouldn't use the word feminized, but certainly, you know, in a lot of ways, men have had their balls cut off in terms of how these great and mighty structures within society function. They've actually done that, and so guys naturally are looking for positive role models to whom they can look up to for advice and opinions, and hopefully some information as well. And that's true also in Mgtow, I would say, as well. We're all looking for that
there's
amongst our
nothing wrong with
peers.
that. I mean,
Yeah.
having a good role model, that's you know, that's a good thing, and it's certainly a positive about Mgtow. But I think when it, for example, you get disappointed at your role model,
Yes.
and then you go and decide, for example, when people found out that Barbarossa had a girlfriend, and they declared themselves no longer Mgtow, they declared Mgtow as a fraud. Now, what does Barbarossa having a girlfriend have anything to do with Mgtow being a fraud? I mean, I actually spoke to people like that, and they basically threw the baby out with the bathwater. That's because it was hero worship, and I think we need to discern the difference between hero worship and friendship. You know, yeah, let's make friendships, let's make you know, let's establish bonds, and let's establish a brotherhood. But first and foremost, we're discussing the issues, not the personality.
Yeah, this is a little interesting in how we project ourselves, and we have a responsibility in projecting ourselves in a truthful manner. When people get confronted with the untruth of you know, something that somebody might say about themselves. We've seen this with Sandman when he was doxxed. There was a sort of untruth about what he was saying about himself, and then they doxed him, and then he was, you know, projecting, oh, he's just a normal guy. He's just an everyday normal guy like all of us, which is, you know, it's a good thing to some measure to know he's just a normal guy. But there were some people out there that actually thought, yeah, Sandman's a great looking guy. He drives around in a BMW. He's super handsome, and he picks up chicks. You know, it crushed his own viewer. That guy that was putting him on the pedestal and looking at him as the mentor figure to this is where I aspire to in life, guy. I want to be like this guy. And then when you find out that, oh, he's just a regular guy like all the rest of us, it is sort of disheartening. And you've created that illusion. We create that illusion. I use characters sometimes. I think I'm pretty honest with who I say I am and what I do and everything. A little too honest sometimes, but I never set my. You're setting what happens there is you're setting your viewer up for a fall that he doesn't need to take.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a basic concept of honesty as far as yourself. There's no point in having great insights into the world around you if you can't have those insights focused upon yourself as well. It's important to constantly be vigilant about our own motivations and the things that we say. So we have to keep that within ourselves, I think, those principles alive. But similarly, again, I would just say this, that people, you know, are fallible. Human beings in general, and you will find that creeping into Mgtow as well as the community. These kind of issues where people are, you know, again, susceptible to their own egos. This happens. We're all subject to these things if we're not careful. And so naturally you're going to get those situations and scenarios where the marketing of the uh, persona, if you will, the false persona that becomes an offshoot of the actual person sometimes takes over. You know,
Hmm.
so it's again, you're trying to please people rather than doing what's true for yourself or true to yourself, and I think maybe that's where sometimes the downfall comes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think we're taking a direction now. Everybody's, and it's good that we talk about these things because we can see how to cure them, and the cure is in this is just to being aware of your viewer. You know, being
Mhm.
more sympathetic towards your viewer and what it might do when if you leave, or if your intentions were wrong from the beginning, which I think some of the past we've seen with Aaron Clary. He was writing a book.
Mhm.
He wanted to promote his book. He's seen Mgtow as a market. He came in, started saying all the catchphrases, the keywords, and all that, which are very easy to learn on a single read. And
Sure.
then when he moved on to the next group, everybody was like, "Oh, we've seen will send me the dick pics and that stuff, things." And yeah, viewers were hurt. Uh, how do we protect against that? And I don't think we can, but we are a microcosm of the bigger world here. We're just representative of the bigger world. Everything that happens in the bigger world is going to happen here, and it's about developing a little tougher skin too. And
Quite right. Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right about this. And also there's the oftentimes you find Schadenfreude plays a great role
oh
in
yeah,
society where people like to see the downfall of others and whatnot in a sort of a almost sadistic way. So I think it's good to keep an open mind about things, and not listen to other people's opinions but form your own. And if you don't feel comfortable with one particular person's channel, you should look to exploring others.
yeah.
Um,
There's
and
990 of them now.
oh yeah, yeah, and it's growing every day. So there's no lack of choice in terms of various Mgtow and their ideas, beliefs, thoughts, opinions. It's a very wide it's a very wide field.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to put MGTOW before ourselves, and that's why we initially did this, so we can help the movement grow. I see a part I can play in that. I can be helpful and useful, but on the other hand, to delude myself that I was ever going to be the SEO genius or the or the great video maker, which is inspiring. I can aspire to be a better video maker because it's just a useful talent in life too.
Oh yeah.
But let's consider like what is that phrase that they use? Principles before personalities. There's always principles here, and if we do that, then we'll be a better group, and a more ethical group.
Well, I agree. I mean, again, it goes back to the thing I was saying about the psychopathic society we're living in, and there's an increase of narcissism and all these various forms of how society has shaped itself and the people within it. So again, that will creep into Mgto every now
Yeah.
and then, and you will find that being an issue. But the way I look at it is, as long as with my content, for example, I'm more than aware of the fact that it won't be for everybody. But as long as it helps one person out there,
One
if
person.
if a single person gains something from it, well, I've done what I set out to do. And that's the way I see it. You know?
Can I add something there? I mean, it's interesting to see the mentality of people. I mean, generally, I mean, there's this saying that a person, an individual, is an intelligent creature, but the people, a mass, are stupid.
Mhm.
I didn't make that up. That's just something I heard. And the thing is, it's like each channel will have their subscribers. We're just talking about Mgtow, obviously, when it comes to things like PewDiePie and
Yeah.
silly channels like that. Yeah, they do it on purpose. But on Mgtow, we claim to, unfortunately, we claim to have the high horse in that we seek intellectual knowledge, even sometimes spiritual expansion. And the thing
Yeah.
is, when someone jumps onto a channel, they expect every single video to be on par with that. And the thing is, it's not. You know,
It's not. No,
it's
and
not.
it shouldn't be.
You're going to find something you're going to disagree with. You're going to find
Yeah.
either a person or an ideal that you're gonna find exception to it. And the thing is, we're supposed to take the good and leave the bad. I mean, that's something
Right. Yeah.
I always said, and that's something I said in my seppuku video as well. And it seems the bigger the channel, the more they have this mentality that I'm either just going to follow this channel. Everything they say has to be right, and then there's a mentality that you know, everything in Mgtow is all set in stone. It's not. I mean, like I said, we're still discussing, we're all talking about it, but I think there's a danger now where some channels they're making themselves the authority on Mgtow.
Yeah, yeah, and there's certain kinds of, what I like to do is when I cruise, and it depends on my mood for the day, what I want to see. So I can't tolerate something some days. I can't, the haystack gets so big. I just don't want to do another Mgtow issue. But look at, there's Vench in there, and he's talking about mowing his grass and using the clippings for something, and
Yeah.
and I can go over to Devlin the comic and say Devlin's there, and he's gonna make me laugh, or Proteus, and he's gonna have an interesting spin on something. I know he's gonna do it, and
Yeah.
it takes my mind off of all the other stuff, because I don't want to 24/7 overstimulate myself and just the issues. And I've been going through this lately, and you probably noticed with a lot of my videos that I'm just kind of, I just can't take another intellectual Mgtow video.
No, I totally understand that. There's a point of exhaustion and saturation where when you reach that, you really kind of need to go away and recharge your batteries as a person, because if you're putting, the thing
Right.
is, people don't realize this, but when you're producing content, you're actually putting a lot of yourself into it.
Yeah.
If you've got any quality in it, hopefully.
But
And
the thing is,
it's,
we should be able to recharge your batteries here instead of going out. You know?
we should, but that's generally, again, not how it functions. Mgtow
Yeah.
is something that we can contribute towards as a philosophy. It should never be something that you know, we enclose ourselves in, if you will,
Yeah.
as a community. And Mgtow generally don't do that anyway. But I'm just saying that it's important to be careful to make sure that we're not so deeply engrossed in the
Yeah.
importance of the issues and all these other things that are connected to Mgtow that we stop being Mgtow. Essentially, sometimes, that's
Yeah.
something we've got to kind of balance out for ourselves as well as people, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
That sounded
I think people do enjoy a bit of variety, don't they? I mean, just like
Oh
human
yeah.
beings, and I think that's something that's overlooked. I think some channels they try that. Some channels that you mentioned, Benchen. There's other channels that they don't really talk about the serious issues. I mean, originally Benchen did. He had a
Yeah.
light-hearted view of
He still talks about them.
yeah, not now and again, and they're not as they don't use the long. Some channels don't like to use the long pseudo intellectual
Oh
term
God.
coming up. Yeah.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, I think people do like a bit of variety, but then you find that when the subscribers have a certain expectation of a channel, they'll start to criticize this and they'll say, oh, what's this a cookery a cookery video or a DIY video. I didn't come on to find this, and then they sort of lose interest. They skip through. But the thing is, I think it boils down to the lack of patience. I think the lack of patience, people.
Do you know what it is? We get overstimulated in society these days. That's what the problem is. So when guys come into Mgtow, they've just come straight out of that deeply connected to the Matrix type society. And when they have to go without that constant stimulation, that presents a problem for them. It becomes an issue. So again, getting from that point to a period of being calm and still within yourself and being okay with not having an excess of stimulation around you, that's hard for people to achieve.
Right.
There's a brilliant philosophy within Buddhism, and this is something that my previous Buddhist teacher used to tell me. Gallic Rinpoche, his name was, and he used to say, before enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, you chop wood and you carry water.
Yeah.
You know, you're basically still doing the same thing, and there's no difference per se. You can't expect just because you've become unplugged suddenly everything's going to be okay and it's going to be rosy and brilliant and you know, all this sort of nonsense. That doesn't happen. You've got to work your way towards these things slowly over time. And come out of that mass marketing mindset that you've got, where either the internet is the be-all and end-all, and content providers should provide you with content when you want upon the subjects that you want. You know, that's
It's become entertainment. It's become Mgtow entertainment. Entertain me, damn it, and it has to be mentally stimulating. And don't use words that I don't understand as well. And don't make shit stuff. But that's a very good. I wonder if everyone will understand that point of yours. I mean, I think what you're trying to say is a lot of it's internal. You know, a lot of the changes.
That's where we come
mental
from. We were the entertainers when we were in the blue pill world. We had to do the, especially if you have well, like in my situation, I had a family. I was the entertainer. I was doing this. I was providing. I was protecting. I was doing all that entertainment stuff. Everywhere I went, I had to do something. There was some expectation of me. Now when I'm in Mgtow, I'm not the entertainer. Well, I sort of am still, but oops, I'm gonna have to answer this. Let me.
Yeah. But no, that's absolutely the case, man. You know, you've got to find yourself, I think, and find your way through life. That's the tough part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is, as you say, very a very internal change that Mgtow take on. I mean, you're still living in the same world, living in the same house, dealing with the same people and the same government. It's just how you deal with it and how you cope with it, and the decisions you take. Obviously, when the decisions and the choices, no matter how small or big, they will affect you. I mean, we're only where we are in the situation we are today because of what happened and our decisions we took yesterday, obviously. But I'm just disappointed in the fact that it's taken I don't know. I guess it just this atheist and non-religious argument. Obviously, as Mgtow, we have this unspoken agreement that we're never going to talk about religion, and whenever it opens its sore wound up, it always gets bitter. I mean, we do get you know, Jewish Mgtow, Muslim Mgtow, Christian Mgtow, and you know, even some from a Buddhist or Zen background, and to exclude this, to say one's more valid than another, I think number one, there's no benefit in discussing it, and number two, it's not really in the Mgtow realm, is it? I mean, it's not.
Well, it can be and it can't be. Again, it depends on the open-mindedness of the person. If you've got somebody who's of a religious bent and their perspective is such that it's so focused upon religion that the foundations from which they are proceeding in their mindset are absolutely set in stone for them, they're going to find it very hard to live a truly Mgtow lifestyle. But that's more to do with fanaticism than actually being of a religious background or anything. I think you get fanatics in every society, every avenue of life, you know.
Yeah, well, hopefully the community can go back to business and trying to address the problems of a misandry and the problems that men face. And yeah, I mean, if we affect the world politically, you know, so be it, if that has a side effects. But you know, like we say, we focus on ourselves. I mean, that there's only so much we can do. And I mean, I don't know if you've seen the podcast about activism. You know, I think we need all of it. You know, we need guys that are from all the background, from all the you know, from all the countries. I think we, like you say, we all have something to contribute. And I just get sad when, you know, big channels, they start segregating other parts of Mgtow. For me, as long as he's a man and he's got men's issues at heart, and his intention is it's a better men's issues. You know, I'll call him brother.
Well, this is it. I mean, again, Mgtow is essentially a brotherhood. It's not. There shouldn't be any division purely based upon one's background or possible belief systems or anything like this. We should be united in what we are, how we proceed within our lives, you know, and the real issues that affect us as men. And yeah, that's of course that's going to cause sadness when people try and kind of put that in there. But some of this, and I'll just explain this to some of the people listening, maybe, is that some of this is actually down to political belief systems that certain Mgtow do hold. If you've got somebody who's a fervent Marxist, for example, or a fervent capitalist, their political ideals and beliefs and whatnot will filter into Mgtow. And so what happens is they've still got that cultural baggage to deal with, and because they haven't dealt with that within themselves, they can't actually see that what they're promoting is actually divisive.
Yeah.
They don't know that because they haven't addressed that in themselves, I think, to a great extent. Why should there be somebody who says, well, you know, we're going to have a particular brand of Mgtow and it must aspire to these political ideals or these religious ideals and so forth. And they do this, as you guys have pointed out, just to try and market their channels, essentially, to a greater audience. But you don't need that. Mgtow should never have to rely upon, you know, greater numbers of people who don't actually agree with their philosophies. You don't need to entice those people. It should only be for people that are seeking to free themselves from those from the bondage of society. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I see elements from the atheistic society crawling into Mgtow, and obviously I think Thorium and Sargon, who have never actually declared themselves to be Mgtow. I think they've had a lot of influence to it. And well, it was a Mgtow guy, you know, it was a religious Mgtow guy. He emailed me, and you know, I've had a few other messages and comments from guys that feel that they're being pushed out, you know, because of their religious beliefs, and I hope they don't leave, you know. I mean, one of my favorite Mgtow guys is Pastor Sean. I hope he's listening. I hope he sticks with it. It's just, you know, let's keep to the issues at hand. Let's, as my Mgtow channel and subscriber video said, you know, let's remember why we came here.
Yes.
Let's remember why we started making the videos, and remember why we felt the way we did when we came to Mgtow.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's an important thing to bear in mind. As far as religion does go, I mean, I don't see a problem with somebody having a benign belief system, to be honest with you. As long as they're not forcing their beliefs or opinions on anyone else, what business is it of yours what they believe in, essentially? You know, this is my issue with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nico's here.
Hey, Nico!
It's gonna get on now.
Guys. Hello, guys. No. I'm just trying to set up my headphones. I'm sorry. Give me a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of religion, it doesn't really figure into Mgtow. It shouldn't figure into Mgtow because, again, as I say, provided that nobody's coming on here and Bible bashing somebody or saying you need to convert to this or convert to that, which I don't see most Mgtow doing, because they're like, well, obviously we've just been through the system there where we've been pushed and forced and cajoled to believe in the concepts of feminism and gynocentrism and all these kind of things. The last thing any Mgtow is going to do is say, you know what, you need to believe in this, right? So I think even if certain Mgtow want to subscribe to certain religious ideals, That's okay with me, as long as they don't feel that they have to force or impose those beliefs on me. You know, that's the way I see it.
We're talking religion, guys.
Apparently, we've somehow drifted onto the topic of religion. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right, fair.
We can change the topic.
Yeah,
That's-
let's
It's all right.
We can talk about Stardust video, Nico. War Jumps Fire. War Jumps Fire. Universal
one?
Studios 13.
I haven't watched Universal's video, but which one of Stardust's video? I've been doing nights, man. I haven't watched shit.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
understandable, brother. You've got to work, you've got to eat, you know.
Well, I'm eating now. I'm eating some crap.
I was jumping down on some stuff earlier as well. I had like 20 Jaffa cakes before I had that.
Oh my
lasagna,
god, man.
Eating healthy.
Oh, yeah.
You should have done a Mgtow video on that.
But
I'm
yeah,
eating
Jaffa cakes.
I'm eating 6 large coconut macaroons. Oh my god, man, this is so good.
macaroons. Oh man, they're good, aren't they? Jeez.
Yeah, they are.
Do you know, brothers? I've been trying to lose weight as well recently, and this is obviously not the way to go, you know.
I wonder if there's a Mgtow man out there who's not trying to lose weight. I think we're all trying to lose weight.
I'm not trying. Well, I'm trying. I was gonna.
I know you're trying as well, Nico, so don't.
The macaroons would help, man.
Yeah, they'll help.
How will they help? I'm curious now. What medical
Well,
science have you got to do?
he'll fill his stomach up with macaroons, and then he'll no longer want to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, the general goal around here is to be healthy, isn't it? MGTOWs generally tend to want to lose weight, want to, have some muscle mass, want to be healthier.
There used to be quite a few videos done on that. I mean, because we're always talking about the mental issues and the emotional and spiritual issues. But also, a while back, I mean, especially when Louis Marco came on the scene, we were talking about being healthy physically as well.
Yeah, Louis Marco's been very active in physical fitness, isn't he? He's very much into that, yeah.
I mean, when I'm moving into my new place and I start my new job eventually soon, in like 3-4 days, I'm starting a cardio workout, which I'm not looking forward to, or not a cardio. I have no idea what I'll be working out. My friend is like, "You listen to me, you will lose weight." I'm like, "Okay, fair enough. I'll just do whatever you say." It's like, "You bend down, you will lose weight." I'm like, "No, you're not doing that to me." It's like, "Okay, I'll teach you another way."
Is your friend Austrian, perchance?
I have no idea. I always have these weird accents for my friends, and they're always like remotely racist and very wrong. It's not even like, "Oh, is your friend from, I don't know, Croatia? What the fuck is? It sounds maybe a bit Arab." I'm like, nothing like that. It's just that I have a weird perception of other people's accents. I think I'm just really bad at making accents.
I think you probably are. I wouldn't go into imitations or anything, impersonations. That's maybe just not your strong point, I don't think.
Man, did you not hear my "Hello, my brethren. I hope you're all well"? I can create voices, but I'm pretty sure it's not me copying a voice. It's just me playing with my voice.
Oh, okay. So, have you got any impressions up your sleeve that you can share with us?
Well, I can do the really, really sexy voice where I talked in your ear.
You know what?
And we can go down a dangerous path of self-discovery and self-reflection. You will definitely self-reflect after what I'm gonna do to you. And yeah.
Is it wrong that that's just giving me a boner, man?
Oh man. But yeah. There is a lot of playing around, man. I'm sorry for ruining the topic of religion and then just throwing my dick there.
That's alright.
It was a fresh change. We were looking forward to changing, anyways.
Yeah.
So what do we want to talk about? Do you want to talk about Stardust's latest video?
Yeah, the community, how the impact it had in the community. It was the first time Stardust has done popular videos since his existence around here.
Man, I was, the unpopular video, the 1-to-1 ratio of dislikes, whatever. I mean, I was there and I was talking to him at the time, and it was like 120 20 likes at the time, and there were almost no dislikes. There were like 3 or 4, which I expected. And we refreshed, and then it just went like to 110 dislikes. I'm like, oh, okay.
Someone
Yeah,
set it on fire.
Yeah, someone set it up. Yeah, it wasn't. I think not many people had as many disagreements as people think. I wouldn't really say that the dislikes are proportional to what it actually was at the time. So that's my first point. He wasn't. I was there with him and we were talking, and I was telling him, "Oh, dude, you did that podcast," and I wanted to listen to it because I thought it was dangerous territory.
Yeah. Was he aware?
Let's talk about the issues that was brought up in the because the thing is, it did make him sound quite arrogant when he said that it was a bot, because obviously, yeah, a bot's going to do, even if all of Sandman's fans descended upon his video and all decided to downvote it.
Man, I was there. It was a bot. I was there. And yeah, I told him to go on one-to-one because I've had it happen to my videos.
Yeah, but the thing is, people did have. If you read the comments, people did have some issue with some of the things he said, and one of the.
We expected that to happen. Well, I expected that to happen, to be fair.
Yeah, so you're gonna expect some downvotes. I mean, a bot's not gonna continually downvote a video until.
No, I would say that around to 140, 150 downvotes, which sounds about right if you're buying downvotes by 50s. We're probably a bot. Now, whatever happened after that, now I would find it entirely reasonable that it was along those lines.
Well, for example, let's just keep to the issues. I mean, he said that Mgtow was he didn't want to see Mgtow go down and I'm paraphrasing here, he didn't want to see Mgtow go down the wrong path because of all the work that him and Barbarossa has put into it. Now, obviously, people are going to take exception to that because it's going to make because he sounds like he's putting himself as some sort of authority. Him and he actually dropped Barbarossa in there as well over Mgtow when Mgtow existed long before even the West started it. I mean, we always.
Well, to be fair, I believe the current version of Mgtow, the version that we ascribe to, is not the traditionalist version with the manifesto. It is the version that Barbarossa brought in. It is the reinterpretation of Mgtow as men going their own way in self-actualization, not really endorsing marriage and all those things. So the manifesto, we all read it. It was a traditionalist idea.
I wouldn't agree with that because I'd say most Mgtow wouldn't know what you're referring to. I mean, I never read it. Yeah, I enjoyed Barbarossa's videos.
Let me find it. Mgtow Manifesto.
Yeah, nobody's read that. Osiris, have you read that?
I have read that, but I read that very recently, actually. I came across that about a couple of weeks ago or something. And
yeah.
So, that was very traditionalist in its outlook. Yeah.
Absolutely, I have it in front of me. We have 3 main strategies: instilling masculinity in men by demanding respect for men, serving a good male role models, living independent lives, fighting chivalry. Instilling femininity in women. We will hold women equally accountable to men and ignore and shun those who refuse to take any responsibility for their own circumstances. Thus, we induce women to take a complementary position with men instead of competitive position, as is now the case. Feminine qualities we want from women: nurturing, supportive, responsibility, respectfulness, honesty, limited government, in order to be independent of society and live within it, while at the same time work for limiting government influence upon our daily lives. Men will go their own way, support other men, legally reduce any tax paying, truthfully act out any duties in accordance with their conscience, use any rights to benefit other men as well as themselves. This is the logo, and they have the old logo there, right, which is basically an anti-feminist logo.
Yep, that's right. That was, yeah.
All right, Mgtow as a label. Yeah, you could argue that was attached to Mgtow as a label, but generally I think I'm safe in saying that a lot of people that now associate with Mgtow, those that are on the fringe and those that make Mgtow content, they're not gonna, they wouldn't have come onto Mgtow just because they watched Barbarossa, for example. Like you get a lot of guys, and you still get
the comments that they came to Mgtow because of Sandman.
Yeah,
and there's
absolutely.
a big thing now about saying that Sandman isn't Mgtow. I think to say that Mgtow in its current form is...
In actual fact, what Stardust did, because I watched that video, what he said is not that Sandman is not Mgtow.
I'm not saying he's not saying it. I'm saying there's a lot of Mgtow that is.
Well, I don't think he's not a Mgtow. If my personal opinion on the matter is that he keeps men in a perpetual state of anger, in a way, in a red pill rage phase, where it's constant bitching, and if that's all you're watching, it's just him moaning. There's nothing else.
Okay. My point is this: if we start saying that Barbarossa or Stardust are the authority of Mgtow.
We're not saying that, though. He's not saying that.
Yeah, but you see, this is the.
Do you not think there was an implication of that, though, in his most recent video?
If he wanted to say that he was the authority of all things Mgtow, do you think Stardust, knowing Stardust as I do, he would have no problem saying that?
Okay, but this is why people downvoted the video. This is why people took exception to it. Yeah, maybe he might not have meant it, but this is how it came across. And then you, I'm not trying. We're just talking here. I'm not trying to.
I agreed with him. Yes, because I know where he's coming from.
Yeah, you see, you see, and then if you say that Mgtow in its current form is a lot to do with the responsibility of Barbarossa. That you're saying the same thing. You're saying
I'm not saying the same thing. If I wanted to say that there was an authority in anything Mgtow, why would I not advertise myself?
All right,
I don't believe in leaders. I don't believe in anyone in terms of like being leadership material. What I'm saying is that in its current form, in the self-actualization, the male-mother need, the gynocentric points of view, all of these things, they came from their videos. That's all he's saying. And what he doesn't enjoy is the direction that some people are taking. Not all of the people. What he says is that the direction that people are taking, like Sexy Mgtow, for example, to name someone, or Angry Mgtow, or whatever, these people are taking a different direction towards hating and killing people, or whatever. I don't know. I know that they don't advocate for killing people, but they dehumanize the opposite sex. That's what he's saying. That's all he's saying. And that's the direction, and he's imagine at the beginning the new interpretation of Mgtow in its current form. It was because of them two talking, and I know it was Razorblade Candy and other people that were involved at the time, but it was them back in the day. I'm presuming, I wasn't here. I came at the time that Sandman was here. But going back to the videos, it was just basically him and Barbarossa that were breaking the new ground. That's what he means. It's the version of Mgtow that he envisioned and helped to create, in a sense, that he doesn't want to see changed. If I'm supporting him in any way, shape, or form. By the way, saying that, I do not consider Stardust or Barbarossa to be my leader, and I'm not obedient to them in any shape, way, or form. I do not believe in leaders. If you remember, I'm the first guy that made a video that said, "G's on your leaders' faces," right? So that's my belief about leaders. We should challenge people's beliefs, but I'm telling you what I understood, and I have talked to him since, so I know exactly what he meant by saying that.
Could you extrapolate a little on what he meant by saying the things he did then? Because I mean, everybody's got their own interpretation of it. But I'd be interested in hearing what your thoughts were on that then.
By the version of Mgtow that he meant was the version of Mgtow as we have come to expect it, which is not at all different to what we believe to be here. But that doesn't give him ownership of Mgtow. That's not what he said. He wasn't implying that gave him ownership of Mgtow and people should listen to him over other people.
Okay, can I say something?
Yeah.
All right. What you just said, people are still going to take exception to that, because there are a lot of Mgtow, and this is what he needs to understand. This is what all the big channels and myself needs to understand, that there are a lot of people that associate with the Mgtow label, and they don't watch Stardust. They've never watched Barbarossa. They don't watch Sandman. In fact, I don't think I've seen a whole Stardust video from beginning to end. And I've seen maybe 3 Barbarossa videos.
But that is not their mistake, and they shouldn't.
It's not
really...
them. Yeah, but I'm addressing the statement you just made. You're saying Mgtow in its current form, but people who associate.
You're not addressing my statement. I never said that everyone has watched Stardust or Barbarossa.
Yeah.
What I said was that they helped create Mgtow as it is now. It was their idea.
As you understand it. As you understand Mgtow,
I'm pretty sure it's as you understand Mgtow as well.
Yeah, I'm not arguing on that point. I'm saying other people, they're Mgtow and they might not have seen it. For example, if we approach someone on the street and we tell them about Mgtow, you know, and they like that, and they go off and they form their own theories. I mean, the foundation of Mgtow is such a loose base, so loosely based, that, you know, basically anyone can just add to it, and if he gets enough other guys that agree to it, you know, it's now become Mgtow. But yeah, for example, let me give you one example, and this ties in with what me and Osiris were saying. If everybody agreed that to be Mgtow you have to be atheist, it would be accepted. People would accept it. If
they wouldn't.
If enough people said, okay, to be Mgtow you must be atheist, they would. People would say, okay, to be Mgtow you have to be atheist. There's nothing within Mgtow.
What are you basing this assumption on? Like, I'm an atheist, and I'm telling you that I wouldn't accept that. So I'm saying that.
Yeah, but I'm saying the foundation of Mgtow is so loose that it can change quite easily. It's not based upon what 2 people say or 3 people say.
No, and I think what his attempt was in that situation was to try and unloosen the definition of Mgtow. What he was trying to do was to say that being Mgtow should be about looking inside of yourself, trying to find the answers, researching about things, doing your own homework.
But
it's
that's
not
not
about
what he
being
said.
spoon-fed. He did. Well, that's how I interpreted it.
That's how you. Yeah, and this is what I'm trying to say to you, Nico.
He never. What he said is he never said you should listen to me over anyone else. What he suggested in the video is that you should find quality content. You should find quality people to listen to, and you should do your own homework.
And that's what people think they're doing. But obviously it comes across that Stardust is saying he's the quality content. That he's the one that's done the homework. That's how it seems. Now the thing is, I'm not just talking about myself, because obviously he wouldn't have got so many downvotes. I'm just read the comments underneath it. Just read the fact that people are making videos against it. You know, this is not between you and me. This is just the fact that this is how people have seen what he said. That's all.
What? Let me find the video. Thinking Abe. Oh wait, I'm finding it right now. Let's go and play with this. So I'm presuming it's not the religion of sameness that we're discussing now. No. Not the enemy of my enemy, the resigned man or the free man. We're talking about not that one. Is it the enemy of my enemy is my friend?
No, it's the mainstreamification video.
Ah, that's the one. Yeah, I did watch that. So he has 351 downvotes in that video. Mgtow is looked from all the wrong angles. Lapi Pok. No recent activity. Okay, I'm trying to find that. Spetsnaz shared it. I'm just saying.
You see, look. Now that's my point. You've now taken Spetsnaz as an authority. I mean, because he shared it, that's given validity to Stardust's video. This is what we mean. You know, a certain Mgtow are considered more valid than other Mgtow.
Of course, some Mgtow are considered more valid.
Well, there you go, and that's my point.
What's wrong with that? Are you comparing my content to, for example, sexy Mgtow? Are you comparing that?
Nico, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying this is how people interpret it. They will interpret it as being elitist. And I'm not trying to argue who's right, who's wrong. We're just discussing the issues.
It's not a matter of being elitist or not. It's some people value some people's opinions more than others.
Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying this, but I'm saying when you declare yourself an authority, you know, what makes your content more valid than others?
When has he declared himself as an authority?
Okay, let's just keep to the point.
I'm keeping to the point. I'm just trying to see where does this
okay, I'm not trying.
Is it possible, brothers, that maybe it's the perception of people that he is coming across as being the authority, rather than, I mean, we're discussing the semantics of what he said, but surely the tone of a person and how they come across within their videos also has something to do with it, and perhaps people took it in that fashion. Those that disagreed.
Yeah, and Kevin Hornbuckle, who I respect highly. It's just like, what a disappointment to see so many downvotes. There is little here to disagree with. Mgtow is a threat, and the establishment of the ruling elites will attack in two primary ways. First, the verification slander. Second, from within by mainstreaming it so as to stop the central message of critical thinking and spreading. Both of these will happen and succeed to unpredictable degrees, at least at this point unpredictable. I have no more to say on this right now. For now, I simply note the inevitable. And you see, for myself, the reason why I agreed with the video, and I think you understand where I'm coming from, it's because for me, the problem that I've had recently with the movement, with the ideology, with the philosophy, with whatever people call it, right, with Mgtow, right? The problem that I've had recently with this was that I have spent a lot of time spoon-feeding people.
Yes.
Spoon-feeding people and answering individual questions one by one and one by one. And sometimes they are as simple as, I don't know, what should I do with my life? Should I take this job or take this job? And you're like, I don't know, I'm not you. You decide for yourself. What is the least gynocentric job? And that's what it becomes.
Can I finish my point?
Yeah, sorry, go for it.
Okay, my point is, let's just take Stardust out of the picture. Let's forget any channel. Let's not mention any channel. Let's remove Stardust. Let's remove Spetsnaz. My point is, you or the subscribers of people in the Mgtow do have preferences to some channels over others.
Yes.
Now the thing is, when you start declaring that this channel is more valid than this other channel, first of all, you might be right. You know, maybe what they're saying is more truth or it's more based upon facts. But the fact is, when you start doing that, it becomes dangerous because unless you establish it on fact rather than just how he makes you feel or his past videos or his past content, then there comes a problem, because when that channel actually believes that they're the authority of Mgtow, let's not name any names, but I'm just saying in theory, if that's what happens, that then the Mgtow community will call them out on that, because generally everybody, all the Mgtow, they sort of pick and choose the content, the channels which they like, which they deem suitable to them, which they seem relevant to them.
Right.
Can I say something on this, or do you still have to go on your question? Is there a question?
No, go ahead, please.
So I highly disagree with this point that people choose their whatever their content. There is an element of choosing, but whichever, let's say, point of view you come across, whichever people you start to listen to, you will be directed to their line of thinking and their likes and dislikes. So for example, if you came across Barbarossa's channel first, you're likely to go to Spetsnaz and to the Thinking Ape, and vice versa. If you found Thinking Ape, you would go to Barbarossa and you would go to Spetsnaz, or whatever these people advertise. And recently the Thinking Ape has been advertising, for example, CS Mgtow's channel, right? So this is the kind of direction, and I disagree. I find that if you find the channel, which is the biggest channel right now in Mgtow, let's say in the Mgtow sphere, in whoever puts the label as Mgtow, which can be anyone from advertising yogurt to toothpaste to absolutely anything and everything under the sun, such as killing women, right? It could be, you can find Sandman, and then from Sandman you would go to equally distributed channels. I mean, that's how things work. There is no element, there is of course an element of, let's say, so-called free will that takes place, But if you start from a single point, you will end up going to another point.
Yeah,
And it is by chance.
Isn't this a sort of a problem we've been talking about lately? It kind of gently interweaves with the bigger issue of Mgtow cohesion. When you get one guy that has 30,000 followers, you're going to get the minions and the drones that are going to go out into the community. And if you make something that's dissents from the idea a little bit, there's a tendency to be aggressive with the other video makers, and like I said, the minions, the drones, or the followers will go out and then they'll start pushing their message. And we felt this tension lately, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to cure here. And what would the cure? Let's ask a question. Let's ask a question instead of just kind of throwing it around. What would the cure be?
I don't know. The cure would be finding a place where all Mgtow content exists, and then you can choose it. For example, who is it? God, let me find. You can go to Mgtow.com, and then you can choose from the channels that he says there, and then maybe you find your direction. I think.
Right. Yeah, that's a good example. Given instead of coming in through Sandman, if you had a broader look at the total Mgtow when you first seen it. You would be more of an informed viewer then, and you can make better choices for yourself. We don't have that sort of thing on, and maybe it's something we could work on as a joint, cooperative between everybody. If you're looking for Mgtow, look at this first, and then you can look at all the Mgtow producers and content makers that that want to decide they want to do that. Then you can go out and make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, Mgtow.com should have done that, but yet, in his interpretation of Mgtow, he doesn't include Sandman. All right, so Sandman is not there. It's not something that I disagree with.
Yeah.
I'm just saying
he should include it because he should include, anybody over 1,000 viewers, should be included in that because obviously 1,000 viewers like him.
Yeah.
And that's the way YouTube does it. That's not just my rule or me thinking out of the box or something. No, that's the way YouTube does it. YouTube allows you, and after you get 1,000 viewers, you become a partner of YouTube. You become something more.
Yet you come to the different problem, right? Yeah. The different problem being, are you now being elitist to everyone over 1,000 subscribers? What happens to everyone else? For example, I really like.
That's something to aspire to, isn't it?
For example, I really like Cyborg's content and Mgtow. Sorry, let me swallow. Okay. For example, I really like Cyborg's content and Mgtow. I like
both.
Yeah, I like people's content that has that they have less than 1,000 subscribers. How will these people show up? How will new voices come about?
Yeah, there's a general conformity too. That's a must, and I will say it. If you're saying unpopular things all the time, look at Minar People's channel. He's got 39 people on there because he used to have 600 because he's saying unpopular things. So the market will decide, and that's the law of the land. Regardless, wherever you go, if you're selling a bad product, the market's going to decide that. And if you open a store down the street and you're selling bad fruit, and then there's a guy that opens up a store up the street, it's just general competition in the market. He provides a better product, then he's going to get more viewers. But but YouTube, like I said, puts a mark on that of 10,000, 1,000. If you get 1,000, you're considered this. If you get 10,000, you're considered that. And that's the general bar. It's not my rule, But it gives guys something to. Learning in here is a big issue, and it's huge. And you were saying it, and I think we all agree. Sometimes you have to take in and soak in a lot of stuff, and then your channel will start to reflect that. And then you will pick up to past that 1,000 mark, and then people look at you as reputable to, at least provide a decent product.
Well, I think my content has gone downhill, to be fair, from when I was initially making content.
Yeah.
Yet
Maybe not. I don't know. I
well,
think.
it depends. It depends how people view it. I mean,
Yeah, I
the first
sacrifice
content
people.
was.
Yeah, I sacrifice people sometimes because this is just the way I think,
Hmm.
and if I want to sacrifice them viewers, so I think I can pick up, more of my quality or my viewer. Yeah, I want those people to leave because I want them to move on. I want them to go get what they want if they agree with me. And you do the same thing, like you were saying. Your vote, you'll go down a little bit, but them are the people that should move on.
Yeah, but that's what I've been doing. I mean, I remember at some point, like, I was getting really frustrated, so I was like, okay, let's make a really abusive video. And I
Yeah.
was aware that I was making a very abusive video to my subscribers. And whoever didn't agree with me at that point, he would find that video highly abusive. Do you think I wasn't aware that I was making a highly abusive video? But I wanted those people to move on.
Yeah, let's move on. Do you think Stardust just went through that?
He might have. I don't know. I haven't really discussed with him.
Yeah, the thought in my mind was, he's an intelligent man. We all love him, and we all care for him and everything, and he's good for the community. But at a certain point, he looked down, and he mentioned it in a couple of his videos at a certain point that you're not going to like this, and if you don't like this, please move on. Maybe that's the goal. He's a big dog, and he wanted to shake off the ticks and the fleas.
I mean, those videos get a lot of people angry. Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I've done it 3 times, I would say, over the past couple of months. I kept doing it on purpose because I wasn't sure I got rid of absolutely everyone.
Yeah,
So,
in a certain while, you can only disagree with somebody so many times on your view, on your comments before you start thinking, well, this is hurting me. And that's what it's about. This is about me, and your YouTube channel, it's about you and helping you and managing your life and getting through your demons, And
well, it should help you, but it should help others as well.
Others too, yeah. Along the way, I can do this, and a lot of people. That's the general principle. Is a lot of people will equate to my Mgtow. And,
well, it's not just that. The way that I see it, it's, for example, you go to the doctor, right?
Right.
Then the doctor finds out that you have hypertension. Then the doctor might try, realistically, depending on your age, he might try an ACE inhibitor, a calcium channel blocker, whatever it might be, right? So he will trial the one medication. If that medication doesn't work, he will try another medication. So what we
learn, you're learning about the patient.
And not just that, what you're trying to do is, like, if we consider it to be slightly therapeutic, the people that do not agree with you, who have visceral disagreements with you, and where they start like hitting behind, under the belt and all that, these people need to go. I mean, they need to move on and find something that works for them.
Find a better the doctor that makes them feel happy, joy inside that they're happy with. Yeah, that's the same thing we do here. It's just the way things are, and I got an impression from Stardust that maybe he was doing just that, And will it hurt him a little bit? But we've seen Sandman go through this with his monks of Mgtow video. Where he lost almost 5,000 viewers, and then 2 months later I looked back and he was over where he was.
Yeah, I mean, these things happen, and at the end of the day, I don't think at all that Stardust cares about other people's opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he cares, and he shouldn't. Well, he should to a point, to conforming to the Mgtow principles. And that's what the basics are here. There's a certain basics that we all know the rules, No one has to tell us because we're men. If you violate those rules, those unspoken rules in your house or in our house, and this is all of our house here, if we violate those rules, it's just like a party. You're going to get thrown out.
Yeah. Well, so the whole concept, from what I understand, it is. Stardust, from when I see him, he actually engages with people in the comment sections, right? Yeah. He tries to. He doesn't try to change their minds. Rather, he tries to explain his views. If there is misunderstanding, and speaking to him for doing the Mgtow talks and whatever, I found out that the one thing that he doesn't enjoy is people misrepresenting him in whatever way. And
that was an interesting topic that came up last night, and I don't want to throw names around. Diana Davis and me and Diana Davison were talking on the MIA forum there, and I would just like to give those guys a plug. They do a great job on the MIA forum. And,
I'm in it as well.
Yeah, you're in it, and it is a great forum for if you want something new, go over there. If you're thinking about this, go over there. Check them all out. Go and talk to these guys. They're great guys. But she was saying it was good to see. She likes these forums here because it's good to see us engaging with and you used it, engaging with the fan. That's a wonderful thing to do, and Stardust is trying to do that now. And but we'd like there'd be a little more, and that's like yesterday. No matter, I like my channel to grow and all that, but I'll put my personal ambitions away and go over to the MRA channel and talk with those guys because, they just want to talk. They want to meet me, and they want to meet you, and they want to meet Osiris. They want to meet Shining, and then they can come over here, talk, and then we become a cohesive group. The leaders in those situations will generally, and I don't want to say leaders because we have no leaders. The group owners and the guys that kind of run the group or monitor the group and do those things, the guys with a little more responsibility will generally start talking between themselves, and guess what we become then?
Yeah.
We become more cohesive. We become, one guy will say something, it'll go to the next group, we all discuss it, it comes back, we've had a private vote, we didn't have to take a vote, but we all know what we all think because we're like those interwoven trees that the roots look together, and now we're a big forest.
Well, was this the informal chat that was happening last night?
Yeah, it's just an informal chat.
I keep missing those.
That's a good chat. You should have.
I know, man. They're really good guys, and they're on the right direction. I really like them. And they're trying to do something positive for the community. Yeah. So I am part of it. I will be producing content as a result of that. But sometimes having the time to engage with absolutely everyone in a hangout is becoming horrible.
You're over 2,000 now. It can't be expected for you. But you know what happens in that case? We see this with, and I'll go back to the minions, the drones adhere to your policies. They adhere to your principles and what you're saying, and they can speak for you in the video. If you have 3, 4, 5 guys,
I don't want to consider them as minions or drones, especially when.
I'm searching for a better word, but I just can't seem to find one right now.
It's people that agree with the message or the version of Mgtow that you're trying to sell. So when people like that disagree with me, for example, it happened where Han Lockhart was disagreeing with me, and I never thought I would find a day where my content would be so left field that he would disagree with me, and we agreed to disagree.
Well, that's what men do. We discuss things and we agree to disagree at the end, or we hammer it out in a civil, non-feminine way.
Well, yeah, as long as we're civil about it, I don't have a problem with that type of thing. Okay, Osiris? Oh, you're still around, man. Okay, excellent. Good. So what do you think about all this? I mean, disagreements will be inevitable.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You're always going to get disagreements, purely because people will have different viewpoints and they approach things in very different ways. I think it's natural for people to gravitate towards certain forms of thinking depending on where they are in their thinking. I don't really have any particular opinion one way or another. I just think that it's better to have a variety of informative channels out there, I think. And if people like Stardust are out there discussing one thing and people feel they can relate to that, that's a good thing. But if you've got people with other channels that are relating to people that are still in a certain type of phase, if you like, where they're going through various forms of anger at the system as it is and so on, I think that's also healthy. I don't think either is necessarily a bad route to go down. That's the way I see it. You've got to have diversity, but consequently, I also just think it's good to have checks and balances in terms of how we perceive ourselves. And this is what I was saying earlier as well. We've got to be careful. The only issue I would have with Stardust's content, personally speaking, and as I say, this doesn't take away from, and I've been saying this through this, it doesn't take away from the fact that he has very, very valid and valuable information for people. I just think sometimes there is a tendency on his part to go down routes where it's purely based on his opinions and conjecture, and I don't think that's necessarily always helpful. But again, a lot of Mgtow do this, so he's not the only person to be guilty of that, you know. So we can gain from some of what he says, and perhaps not so much from other things that he says. But it's his channel, and he's got his subscribers. So yeah, as they say, the free market will decide.
Well, to be fair, the majority of people that disagree in personal opinion videos disagree because of personal opinion.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that doesn't make their views or his views any more or any less valid. Personally, I like his views because they agree a lot with my views, and it might be, yeah, it might be because I come from the same standpoint. I also live in a foreign country. I've moved here. I hang out with a lot of randomers all over the place. Randomers being people from random countries, and I mean. I agree with, and I'm also an atheist, so I mean, I can see what he means, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into those decisions too. There's a plethora of things, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Again, the only other thing I would add is the notion of exclusivity, which I think does pose issues when you have a non-exclusive philosophy in the first place as your starting point. If you're saying that Mgtow is for men going their own way, and obviously that philosophy has evolved over time, and certainly Stardust and Barbarossa might have set certain foundations there over time. But just like the originators that created the Mgtow manifesto, as it were. Times evolve, people evolve. It might well be that people need different things at this point in time, other than their ideas and philosophies, which have evolved Mgtow, but maybe now people are seeking other things as well. I don't know. It's a very fluid situation, I think, within Mgtow, just because society's also changing very rapidly and what people are looking for. So.
Yeah, can you imagine next year at this time when the American elections come up and what we're going to be talking about?
I'm going to still be talking about the same things. I don't give a fuck about American elections.
Yeah, the whole world's going to be up in flames about that, and there's going to be several events during the year of that magnitude, isn't there? And that's what we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Look, do you know what I want to see in the American election is Donald Trump becoming president. Yeah. That would make me happy, I have to tell you.
Yeah, that would be. It would be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I don't think it will happen.
You know, we had Ronald Reagan. Anything could happen.
But yeah, I mean, okay.
Yeah, if John Wayne was still alive, they would have elected him.
Everybody would vote for the Duke, let's be honest.
Yeah, I would. But, you know, we're going to get a look now. Look, we started off this with Ronda Rousey. That was the, you know, we can take these events in our world that we live with, and we can form them and look at the Mgtow values in them, and in what's going on, and we could relate it to another event of the BBC that was going on, and say,
Oh
yeah,
God!
the same
You
thing.
guys talk among yourselves. I can't find my essay. Give me 5 minutes. I'll be back.
Yeah, so we okay. Now there's a thread going there of common. It's a common core principle. What was the thing that started this thing? Is it the media and their attitudes, or the marketing of the media? And we can look at all these things. They're interesting. Next week, next week, who knows? Mgtow might go on a killing spree. That'd be great, huh?
Well, your definition of great and mine's might vary. No, I mean, I think as insofar as the media is concerned, again, I'm boiling it down to basics in a lot of this, but the media is basically a secondary arm of state control. I've said this frequently, and the reason for that is just because of the way, and I encourage, this is why I'm saying I encourage people to go out there and seek information, not just in the realm of Mgtow, but go out there and read as many books as you can, be informed in terms of newspaper and articles and whatnot, watch informative documentaries if possible that are out of left field, because this will inform your mind better. When you discover that corporations were specifically set up in a certain manner, and that, as I was describing it at the start of this live stream, with the way that the advertising agencies were originally set up, and I went into depth with that, and I sort of explained how psychology was very heavily involved in whatnot in that as well. And what you find is that these are modes of control. This is what they are designed to do. They are designed to control. Well, what are they designed to control should be the question people ask.
Yeah, what are they? Yeah, what do they want me to buy? What do they want me to do? Who do they want me to support?
Exactly, and it's designed to control your perceptions. It's to lock you into a particular frame of thinking. And if you've got one of these arms of state control doing precisely that, how can you trust that arm of state control to do anything else? They're not going to be representative of people with diverse opinions and viewpoints. They're going to hammer home their agenda.
Their agenda, and it is their agenda. It should be identified as so too. I have a cure. I have a cure for this. We talked about it earlier. The Sci-Fi Channel, Sharknado 1, 2, and 3. Watch Sharknado 1, 2, and 3, and your whole view on life will change.
Brother, you know what? I've actually seen Sharknado 1 and 2, but I haven't seen 3 yet. Is it as good as the hype?
It's better. It was better than 1 and 2. I loved it. I was laughing through the whole thing, and it was so silly. it was so refreshing and silly, and it was great. I like that idea that they do too, and that's what we went through this with our little humor period there for a while in Mgtow. You need that. You need get off the subjects and
for sure.
Get sharks in space. Like Tyrannosaurus sharks. Squid sharks. I love all those shows. They're just so silly.
I saw something years and years ago when I was a very young lad. There was a film of some kind, and I believe that the novel was written by Peter Benchley, the same guy that wrote Jaws, and it was about a mutated shark man. I cannot remember for the life of me what it was called, but it was fantastic. Do you know what it was?
But I don't.
No? Yeah, me neither. A mutated shark. Oh, I know. No, it wasn't Swamp Thing.
No, it wasn't Swamp Thing. It was. I'll look it up. Hang on.
I have a book that I want to suggest to Mgtow right now. I'm reading it as we speak. A lot of Mgtow is understanding female nature. So if you guys want to go about doing that, I have a book that I'm reading, and hopefully I'll interview the author. If everything works well, fairly soon in the coming month. It's called The Rational Male Preventive Medicine by Rollo Tomasi, and I read the previous book as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I've read some of his work online, and I think it is groundbreaking in many ways, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading the second book now, and I think all boys, all men in the ages of let's say 20, 25 and onwards. They need to read this book, and they need to learn what they need to avoid before going to war, if they're looking for going to war. And war being relationships. So it will be something that I know Warhorse says it doesn't bother him. So if he wants to, if anyone wants to read it, I think it's amazing. And I'll try and interview the guy, and I want to discuss with him a lot of things with regards to this book. I think it's excellent. So far, it's been reading brilliantly as well. Uses a lot of academic language in there. With regards to the BBC, that wasn't the final straw of what happened. Following the last fucking hangout that we did with Barbarossa. So Reggie was supposed to show up. He didn't show up. I mean, everyone is aware of that.
Yeah.
By now, I would presume everyone is aware of that by now. So then when they realized, I think I pissed Reggie off. Reggie, or whatever. Yeah. Reggie, I think I've pissed Reggie off because I told him sorry and I wouldn't engage with him, and I still sent him the link. But anyway, they called CS again. They've been calling him non-stop. I really feel sorry for the guy. And they told him, and he told them basically to contact myself and Barbarossa directly. And Richie contacted me. Richie, I think he's the producer or something for the documentary. I'm not 100% sure. So he asked me whether we can reschedule for Sunday. That is today. Okay. I'm talking to you guys, so you know what my answer was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did anybody take him up on that? Do you know if there was other Mgtows involved?
I don't think so. I mean, he wanted to address the community, and I think in order to address the community, first of all, releasing a YouTube video doesn't do very much. You need to find a place where some people would listen to you, and that's why we suggested doing it on Barbarossa's channel. He comes, we share our opinions, he shares his opinions, and a lot of Mgtow would listen to that.
Yeah. So if they're not going to pay us, if they're not going to pay us, you're going to come to our Google Plus or Skype Hangout. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was my idea. You come to us, we don't come to you.
Yeah, because there's a copyright thing that they have to adhere to then.
Exactly. That's why. And in the email actually that I've sent him, I mean, I can read that email because I don't think it's anything wrong with that. All right. I told him, okay, so this is how it's going to play out. If it does, tomorrow I will email you a link. This link will take you to a Hangout space of a YouTube channel. The conversation, for all intents and purposes, will be recorded. We will share with your concerns and what we heard, and you can share your point of view. The video will not be used for the purposes of the documentary, with capital NOT. Both myself and Barbarossa refuse to provide consent for that. If you want to discuss with Mgtow about this and address them, this is the only way to do it. If we are in agreement about this, the meeting shall take place. Thank you. P.S. We don't use cameras, but you're free to use your own webcam. Yeah. Right. So he agreed to that. That's what happened. He agreed to that, and then he didn't meet. Afterwards,
that's got to scare the hell out of him.
Well, I wasn't trying to scare him. I was trying to tell him these are the rules. If we're playing, these are the rules. Then I was contacted by Richie, which is the producer, and I told him, "Dear Mr. Carr," because that's his last name, "are you by any chance related to Jimmy? If yes, give him my best. He's a funny dude." We allowed Reggie to address us in a respectable space within our small and unimportant community. You have not showed up, and that's fine. I'm a bit skeptical as to why it is yourself contacted me and not Reggie, as I had initially conversed with him via email. I hope my email does not get passed around the BBC, and I get repeated emails, as that will constitute harassment. Unfortunately, we're individuals that don't wish to engage very much with the mass media, as you can tell. We probably never will. If you have kept the appointment time as previously agreed, we would have had the hangout as planned. However, given the circumstances, we will not endorse endorse this any further. As to we, I'm including myself and Barbarossa because I discussed with Barbarossa first. I'm sure Clive may be getting tired of this as well. Clive being Clive Smith, who is CS Mgtow. Yeah. It's not his actual name. It's a pseudonym. You don't by any chance think that our time is somehow less important than yours, do you? So I must sincerely apologize for the inconvenience. I wish you all the best with your life and the future of this documentary. Please do not contact me again. Thank you sincerely, Nico.
That was pretty straightforward.
Yep. I felt a bit bitchy writing that, but it certainly drove the message across. I haven't been bothered.
It's a proper letter, and you have to say those things in proper letters.
Mm-hmm. We're coming to the Q&A portion of the podcast.
Yeah, I put out a Q&A if they had any questions out there. We usually do this at least once during the podcast. But I don't see anything coming in. So what else happened this week? Anything besides Ronda Rousey? Did she win?
Who?
Ronda Rousey.
Who the fuck is she?
That's that girl, female boxer.
There's a female boxer? She competes with guys?
Or fighting. No, she's a female fighter that competes.
Not interested.
Not interested? Yeah, I was wondering. Nobody seems to know if she won or not.
Yeah, she won in 34 seconds. Yeah.
34?
Yeah.
Wow, she's a dude. She's the dude. So we covered the media. We covered anything. Any health tips for this week?
Always wear a rubber.
Always wear a rubber. Risk. Yeah,
Yes.
risk is a good question. We heard some interesting questions around where do you start your Mgtow at? Where does the young guy? And there was some differences between the older guys and the younger guys, and some of the perception was the older guys have gone through it, and how do you approach a younger man in Mgtow? And I think that's where you started with risk assessment of his life, because it's kind of natural for a 21, 22-year-old guy to want to jump off mountains and do as many girls as he can, and fly if he could. And we see the damaging results of that in their lives later on.
That's why I'm suggesting even to Mgtow to read The Rational Male and the second book of The Rational Male, or just access Rollo Tomas's content, because if you're dealing with the female, you might as well learn the females.
Yeah, learn everything you can about the female before jumping in on that, because that's a hard learning process. What other risks are there? Like there's sexual transmitted diseases too. You can get herpes.
Yeah. It's a minefield out there, so you've got to watch yourself, I think, in many, many ways. The STDs, the potential for pregnancy,
right?
The methods and the games that women generally do play, you've got to be aware of those, because starting out, most Mgtow aren't familiar with they understand the general concepts of how women in society function, but they don't fully understand the intricate methods that they use to gain the attention of men and things. So, yeah, it's a good idea to be well informed of those things.
I like to say there's a general little story I give, and we've all seen this in our lives when a 21, 22, 19 and 20-year-old man, they're susceptible to, having a single baby mama and having a baby at that point. But one of the things that they don't look at is banking. And how they function with banking, and they want to go buy a car. And for a female, we've all seen this in our lives, and this relates to another story too about I'm pregnant. But he goes out and he co-signs for the girl's car, and guess what happens? She leaves, takes the car. Guess what he gets? He gets the payment. And he has two choices, and he can have it repossessed, stop making the payments. And I've seen this with so many guys, and that's a little precursor to the marriage, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Don't spend your money, I would say, on women, because women generally will, if they feel financially and economically secure in a situation, they will take advantage of that.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, they'll get their excitement elsewhere. This is just how the dynamics of male-female relationships work these days, and they will leave your ass in a second. You know, once they've got what they want. So.
Right, they have that ring, and it's not just a car. You can get back a car and stop making, but that screws your whole life, doesn't it? Because there's a certain order to life that all fathers tell their children, and all men should tell other men. And this is, you turn 18, you go to college, you buy a car, you make every single payment. After you graduated from college, that car was so important because now you have credit. Now your house, you can buy your house with the credit you have acquired from paying off that car. And it's a little pattern that goes there. When that pattern gets interrupted in any way, you'll find down, you know, at the age of 30 when you need to take that business loan, it has a lot to do with all those little events that were supposed to happen. But a woman they jump right in there, they screw up that little events that should have happened, and they manipulate their way into there. There's several stories like that. Nico just told one a few months ago about the woman told you she was pregnant. She wasn't really pregnant. What she was trying to do is get pregnant. Her motivations were to get pregnant. You can stop using the condom. If she's already pregnant, every man knows you can stop using the condom because at that point it's useless. So you stop using the condom, and this is.
I started using condoms actually.
Yeah, you started using because you knew the little game that they play. Now most 18, 19-year-old kids, they don't know that game. They're going to go, okay, yeah, fine. They're going to take that responsibility, and then they're going to get her pregnant afterwards.
And not just that, I find that once you start having sex without a condom, it is very difficult to go back to condoms.
Right.
Very, very difficult. It feels a lot better without a condom, and that's how you start a family.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, incidental families. We have way too many of them. People playing house, and then they get to the point where they're just playing house, and that's a concept not a lot of people understand. Whether you're playing house or in a real relationship or dating in that traditional scene like that, you're still married. And I've just witnessed in my life, I told the guys I had to evict a tenant from my house. And I went down to the local court system, and guess what that was before me? There was a man and a woman that was living together for 17 years. He was making the payments on the house. He lost his job. The house was in the woman's name. Guess who was getting evicted?
Him.
Yes, him. It's a little precursor of the marriage because that's what's going to happen to you if you get married. You're going to get evicted from the house. Your life is going to be turned upside down. So if he would have known 17 years ago that this would happen, or if he had some red pill knowledge that this would have happened, he would have put his name on the lease. And then there would have been a bigger argument, and the house would have been split in half. He would have got, and that's what he was trying to say to the judge, but the judge in the eviction court doesn't care.
Now, of course he doesn't care. He just adheres to the law. He doesn't care about
adheres to the laws of that eviction court. Now we can look at gynocentrism and feminism and how they're incorporating these things into other court systems to get their way. So they know these things, and there's going to be a lot of divorce courts, divorce situations that people that have been living together and playing house for 17 years that are being settled in a lesser court.
Sure. Yeah.
Man. You know what surprises me? Like, I have a sister, I have cousins, I have people who, you know, they're not the smartest of people, right? They're not the smartest of people by any shape of the imagination. And I talk to them. And if you were to date any of these people that I know, you would not think that they know anything about the law, right?
Yeah.
Yet when I sit anyone that I know down and ask them about the laws and what they can gain in a divorce or whatever, they know everything. They know the law down to the dot. I don't know if it's in the Cosmopolitan magazine, if it exists in like Heat or whatever, or if it's in the back pages of the Sun, but it seems like all the females are aware of their rights and what they can
win.
Yeah, Yeah, because they know what people generally tend to do is look for those things that apply specifically to them. So any information that is of use to them, they will exploit it to the maximum. We're living in an exploitative society, and because women are reared in it, they naturally then think, okay, exploitation. How can I get what I should have out of this kind of thing?
Yeah.
They're looking at it out of a pure selfish advantage.
Pure
You know?
self-advantage, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a general conscience by concern. If you know the concept of conscience by concern for women, then you can apply that in these things.
Absolutely.
You can even apply it to yourself. It's not gonna work just as well.
Yeah, that's what we were trying to develop. The male getting a sense of conscience by concern, because we don't have that. We have honor, and when we're fresh, we have a lot of honor, and we don't have we will sacrifice for others, but we're so unused to doing things for ourselves.
Well, this is actually brings into focus something that Nico was saying earlier as well, which is that people expect things, and I noticed this on my own small channel. People expect things to be spoon-fed to them in terms of information. They want everything delivered to them, signed, sealed, and delivered, so to speak. And what happens is people get lazy as a result of this. They get intellectually lazy. They get
intellectually lazy, yes.
Yeah, and so they don't. People quite literally don't want to go out there and do the work that they need to do, because here's the thing: it doesn't matter what you do in life, what philosophy you ascribe to. You can be blue pill, red pill, fucking any color of pill you want to choose, right? But if you don't understand that you've got to put some hard effort and hard graft into making your life the way you see fit, then you're not going to get anywhere. And effort is required even if you want to expand your mind, if you want to understand things from an intellectual perspective, if you want to gain more knowledge, you've got to go out there and seek that. I wasn't, like, for example, Joe, you're a very intellectual guy. I can relate to you on many subjects. The same applies to Nico and to Shining, so Messenger, all these brothers that we've got, but we've gone out there and sought this information out. This didn't just come to us from fucking up on high, you know. We had to go out there.
Speak for yourself, man.
There's a little thing that plays out on the threads sometimes, and then you make your video, you put your points down, and I am the pundit at that point. I'm the pundit. I'm the speaker. I'm the pundit. I'm the maker. It's my opinion at that. It's everything me. And then I'll get this little comment that says, "Did you give links?"
Yeah.
It's like, no, go. You got the computer right in front of you. Go read it. That's what I go say.
Google it.
Google it. Learn how to type.
This is the thing. I mean, some of the videos I've put up recently, I've given sources for a lot of what I'm saying, and I'm saying to people, okay, if you don't agree with me, or even if you do agree with me, go out there and find this for yourself, so you can either verify it or disprove it. You know, don't become. I don't allow people around me to become intellectually lazy. I think that's a dangerous path to go down, because you just go, okay, I don't need to make any effort. Everything will just be given to me, and that's the same mentality that's led women down this path. My fear for men, quite genuinely, again, it doesn't matter whether they're blue pill or red pill. I mean, it matters in the sense of Mgtow, but externally, my fear is that if men become just as intellectually lazy, then what will happen is we're just going to go down the same road of psychopathy and narcissism and all these various forms of ill health mentally. You know, because it is a form of being mentally unwell. When you are unwilling to put the effort in order to further yourself in any way to evolve. You know, that's my feelings.
It all starts with everything, man. It all starts that someone will do the job for you. If you look, the thing is, no one is actually doing the work that they need to do. Not even us. I mean, we find sources, we read the sources. Someone else has done the research. We haven't obviously done the research, and that's okay. That's okay, right? But when you come across a video, and that video is the accumulation of sources, or that guy's thinking is experience, information, whatever, right? And then he says what he says. And when we're talking about touchy subjects, I have no idea whether they're touchy, but apparently they're touchy subjects. If we talk about touchy subjects, why don't they do their own research? Yeah. Do they think we would have typed different search terms to them, or we would have gone beyond the 3rd page of Google? I mean, I occasionally use Google Scholar if I want to find something very, let's say, sciencey, or I would talk to a friend that I have. I think Dark Knight, I talk to him sometimes about these things, and he will give me links on research papers and actual scientific journals. Yeah. So that's how I built a lot of the things that I say. But it has my personal opinion on, and it has my personal biases on, and it doesn't work for everyone. I mean, people should look for their own point of view. What I hate is when it goes down to, well, you know, Nico said it.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel the same way about this. The majority of what I share with people in terms of my scientific knowledge or what have you, I've actually got science journals in hard copy format, so I'll rely on those sometimes. And those things are very difficult to find, just because you need to be. I mean, you know yourself, Nico. You need to be subscribed to these. What do they call them? Scholarly. What are those websites?
You either need to have an Athens account.
Exactly. So that can be a hard graft again, because you have to go through the motions in order to really get that information. But it is out there. And yes, some of us do put in that a little bit of extra effort to do that. It doesn't take much more than that for your average listener or for your average YouTube viewer to go out there and do that for themselves. You know, science journals, you can buy them left, right, and center. It's not hard to do.
Yeah, well, you can buy them, but you can also find a lot of the information for free, as long as you know how to do your own research. It's not difficult.
Right, yeah, the keywords. You use the keywords. I go to Athens, and then I get the keywords, and then I retype that into Google, and then I do another search, and that same paper will usually show up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm thinking because of I probably need to get a subscription, at least to psychology journals or whatever, because it's becoming difficult now to find all the papers that I need. But yeah, you can still access them if you know people in university. They have access to fuckloads. I remember when I was in uni, I was just downloading everything, because even to write. I remember when I wrote a thesis. You required 80-something sources, and my thesis was small.
Yes. Very
small, but yet you need to find sources that support your opinion, and that's the only way to do it.
Absolutely, and you've got to be able to back up what you say again. You know, you can't. Again, we fall into this intellectually lazy practice, I think, too often. The analogy I like to give on that is the following: it's like trying to eat a sandwich before you've fucking made it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like literally, and what happens is people will immediately have an instinctual response to something, and this is what we see on a lot of Mgtow channels as well. People just instinctually kind of react to something without absorbing it fully in terms of what the person is saying, and then saying, okay, is there a point in this? Is there something I can agree with or disagree with, and why do I disagree with it, and so forth. They can't put their points across coherently because they're just trying to eat that sandwich before it's made. You know, they're just putting it out there without really thinking it through.
Yeah, them are great points. We do the research, and we're not responsible for giving you the. I like to motivate people, but I'm not responsible for them actually typing the word and going to find it. And the internet's just a great source, and sometimes I'm thinking I plagiarize sometimes, and then I think about it like, no, everything I thought of or everywhere I'm going, there's nothing new under the sun. I can type in 2 boxes of rocks, how much they weigh, and get the exact measurement on that weight in a second. So use it as a resource, because it is a resource. And a couple guys were saying if they start online courses, and online courses are better than what you're going to get at Harvard.
This is very true. Actually, Joel, it's an interesting point that Harvard actually have made the majority of their coursework. Was it Harvard or Yale? I can't recall which of the two. But one of them has made their coursework available online for free.
For free, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there's online college. You can go take a course for free.
Open University, you can do the same thing.
Open University, yeah,
Absolutely.
them are great. I do that sometimes myself, a day course, if I just feel like I'm bored and I want to go learn about something, some little topic that they've got a billion obscure topics. I do that all the time. I still, if people say, well, Joe, you're 53 years old. Isn't school over yet? No, school's never over.
Yeah.
I just signed up for a new course online that I had to pay for. I was kind of disappointed about that, but I'm gonna go take it just because I want to know about it, and it's a management course that I never filtered in when I was young.
All right. That's always good, as I say, to learn new disciplines, new things, man.
Yeah.
It's I just worry again, just because of the direction that society is going in. It's not going down the right paths. Not by my arbitrary standard, just because the effects are so obvious out there. Too many people are zombie-like in terms of relying upon their unconscious to do everything for them. It's a bit like when you're driving. I mean, you guys will relate to this. When you're driving down the road, you don't have to think about where you're going to drive or how you're going to drive and all this sort of thing. When you're learning, when you're learning, you're kind of like, okay, let me consciously be aware of all this stuff. But eventually, once it becomes second nature to you, you're doing it unconsciously in an automative fashion. So, you're relying upon your subconscious to direct your actions. But if you do that too much, then you don't really allow for true free thought to emerge.
Yeah.
I think that can be a problem.
And it's a big issue I have with mental health and the mental health things that go around in here. You got to be willing to do the work to get up to a standard.
Exactly.
If you feel that you're lacking in that, I've seen so many people in my life that they just gave up. They weren't willing to do the work. They weren't willing to work on themselves, and then they usually end up committing suicide or doing something really, really, really socially stupid. Ended up in jail. It ruins their life. No, put that work in. It's tough sometimes, and God knows it's tough. Yeah, I had a funny question, since no one's asking any questions, and the thing is, if you could have anybody make you a sandwich in the world, any woman in the world, who would it be?
Oh man, that's a tough question.
I know, I just hit you on the spot with that.
Big Red.
Big Red, you want Big Red? Oh yeah, that would be a great one. Big Red, what kind of sandwich would that be?
I don't know, but if she makes me a sandwich, I'm gonna take a picture of it and just put it all over internet. Yeah. Even Big Red makes you sandwiches.
Even Big Red makes you sandwiches. How about you, Cyrus? Got any thoughts on that?
I would probably say I'd have to have some sort of medical freakish experiment, which would result in the body of Shannon Doherty and the mind of Einstein.
Oh, the Shannon Doherty with the mind of Einstein making a perfect sandwich.
Absolutely, man. That would fucking turn me on no end, man. A Philly steak sandwich, that would do me.
Yeah, I was thinking Madame Carey would make me a good sandwich because it'd be bacteria free.
Yeah.
Definitely the Big Red. You guys are missing out.
Big Red. That would be a sausage sandwich for her.
Well, I'm not making her a sandwich.
Yeah,
I'm not even producing the filling. Fuck that. Ugh.
Yeah, that was just a small question that came through my head, and it's something silly.
There were questions. Were there
some questions in here?
Yeah, there were questions. Mgtow Universe asked, God, something Nolan effect. Fuck, I don't remember it.
Okay. There are plenty of questions. Y'all are just being lazy. Yes, we are. And that's a question in itself. uh, oh, let me go down here and see if I can detect these. This is why I rely on Shining to do this.
Oh, right, I see.
The 10 so I have 10 sources of notes on. Okay, that's just talk. I can't find these things. Okay, depending on the context, Mgtow asked for it. More physical discussions. Are you being lazy? Depends on, that's an answer. We got a lot of.
Yeah, define. Okay, let me wait. It's somewhere here. Fuck. Okay, what happens when Mgtow has its Nolan effect? And the Nolan effect is Bane 666 defines Nolan effect as out of 100 people, one will be batshit nuts and violent.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, the turd flinging monkeys, 1% are just going to be crazy, and we can expect that around here. But like so often in life, everything's going cool, everything's going great, and then there's a party going on, and there's 100 people there, and all it takes is one crazy person to screw up the whole thing.
But that is why I had a lot of concerns with using dehumanizing language in our videos with female when we're criticizing females, etc. Because dehumanizing language can be used to exacerbate these people's, I don't know,
I see what
insanity.
you're saying. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Actually, I mean that's a very valid point. But if I could play devil's advocate with that, I would say that their behaviors are not necessarily. It's like saying that the violent video games are going to make people violent.
Yeah.
Right?
No. Well, yeah, I shouldn't do anything, but some people might use it to excuse themselves. Words are words, man. Words shouldn't have any effect in anything. Yet, well, I mean, they shouldn't really affect you towards going and killing someone, doing something that you know for a fact is wrong.
Yeah.
But yet people may use it to explain their actions or whatever. Or someone makes a video and just says, look, I'm a Mgtow. Mgtow believe that women are all evil. I'm going to go and kill me some women. Yeah, fuck, go Mgtow. And then he just goes out and kills women, and there we go.
But we had a similar situation to that actually not that long ago. What was the name of that chap?
Sexy ones.
No. The guy who went out there and was it Nolan?
Sexy Mgtow?
It's the Nolan. No. It's the Nolan effect that the Mgtow universe is referring to. So it is.
Yeah. So
that's the guy.
Yeah. Who went out there and shot all these women.
Okay.
In terms of that, this was a man. You have to keep this in mind. I think, and this goes for the listeners as well as us, is that so many young men have been damaged psychologically and psychiatrically to an extreme extent by the system as it exists in its present state. So this doesn't excuse their actions, but it goes a long way to explaining them. If you purposefully, sociologically and medically damage somebody, then of course their actions are not going to be that of a sane person, and you can't hold a certain viewpoint accountable for that. A prime example is if you look at people who are anti-Semitic, for example. You've got a lot of people that are anti-Semitic but won't actually go out there and commit violent acts. Meanwhile, Hitler is on record as saying, I don't believe in anti-Semitism. Right? He actually said this numerous times, but went out there and killed over 6 million of my people. So I mean, this happens. Psychopaths unfortunately do exist in any society. You're not gonna you're not responsible for their actions in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
And the dehumanization thing can only be extended so far. You can't specifically dehumanize somebody using words or language. This is what the feminists do. They claim that dehumanizing language actually dehumanizes a person. This is not the case.
No.
I think
descriptive.
Yeah, it's descriptive, and if that person is strong enough in their personality, they won't feel dehumanized by that. You've got to develop a less fragile ego, I think, and this goes for
Yeah.
men as well as women. You've got to develop that. It's not a thicker skin per se, but I think you have to have that true sense objectively of things rather than constantly being victim to your subjective conscious that is always.
And the issue is also, I mean, who decides? I mean, we all have our boundaries, we all have our borders.
Yeah.
Who decides what's inflammatory? You know, who decides what's going too far? I mean, take for
No
example, Anders Breivik.
We just had a great example of that with the Indian reservation. The three passengers that were riding through the Indian reservation, and the young man was stranded.
Yeah.
Now he did a very violent act, but the thing that they said in the he was stranded. It's hot. He's standing on the highway. He's trying to get where he's going. He's frustrated. He's a young man. He's aggressive. The passengers stopped and they intensified the situation. The female, I think she was 18 years old, that was shot in the back, had laughed at him, and then he shot him. So there's little things that happen that we can look at in those situations and say, yeah, that should have never happened. They should have just rode on by, and not did that. Now we got another great example of Adam Lanza.
Yes.
Adam Lanza at Sandy Hook. Everybody, oh, he's a terrible guy. This is that, and we all understand that. But Adam Lanza's mother was receiving $300,000 a year for child support, and she was working. Adam Lanza, at the time he died, was 102 pounds, a 6'2" male.
Mm-hmm.
He was emaciated, on drugs, emaciated. Who created him?
Well, this is the question. It's the psychosis that exists inside people and what has brought that about. We're not addressing those questions as a society at all.
No, we're not.
These people were also, and here's an interesting point, the majority of these shooters are actually on antidepressant medication, which then makes them prone to violent outbursts or suicidal tendencies.
No, it doesn't.
Well, it doesn't.
You're defending your industry.
Professional, Nico, all those
doesn't.
subscriptions you gave, so irresponsible.
It doesn't, because what I'm saying is,
I know.
depending on the medication, and antidepressants do not make you more violent. If anything, they make you less violent. But it's not a side effect of the medication that it makes you more violent. We're just using it because the majority of these people had a lot of problems, but it isn't the result of the medication that made them violent, but it is rather the people themselves that were violent.
Yeah. What would you have done in that situation? Say, Nico, if Adam Lanza comes to you and he's being aggressive, he's asking for some help. Maybe he got help, maybe he didn't, but this is truly it's just an experimental question. You look at his body type, you see he's 102 pounds, he's emaciated. What do?
Is 102 pounds a lot? What is it in kilos?
102 is like a 7-pound weakling. Yeah, he's very tall, he's emaciated.
Okay, so you just sit him down and you talk to him, and depending on the situation and how violent the outbursts might be or what he describes his intentions are. I mean, so if he describes a clear intent of damaging someone, then you will have to inform the police, or if it's a result of his condition, then you will have to commit that person inside the psychiatric hospital. If he has trouble...
He's autistic too, you have to filter that in.
Yeah, so if he has trouble controlling his violent outbursts because of a condition, medications have been used in the past to control this type of behavior. A medication commonly used is risperidone, and they use it. Yeah. I've seen it used with psychopaths. I remember I came across a psychopath during psychiatry, and he had a diagnosis of antisocial personality disorder. Or dissocial personality disorder, which is basically psychopathy. And he was saying that he went into the army, and the reason that he went into the army was because he knew that his life would be ruined because he wanted to kill people. And he went to Iraq, he went to Afghanistan, why did I say Iraq? He went to Iraq, he went to Afghanistan, he fought in wars, he killed people, right? Now the wars were over, he was over 50 years old, and he had to be away from people, so he wasn't married, he was living alone, far away from people, because he could feel kind of like a violent intent. And you could see that in him. He was saying that, look, I need something that will help me control this anger. And what they prescribed to him was an antipsychotic called risperidone, which has the effect of kind of like dumping it reduces your energy in a way, so you're not as violent as you were before. Even if you have violent thoughts, you're less likely to act them out. So there is medication out there, and there is people that use medication to control a lot of the violent outbursts that people might have. Even with people with Alzheimer's or advanced dementia or whatever, antipsychotics are occasionally used, and are only used by psychiatrists who are aware of the field, and they control people's behavior that may be becoming problematic. It doesn't fix the problem, it's controlling the symptoms.
But the person himself, is the person of any interest to you? We had a great example this morning too of the guy that wanted to commit suicide and had the pills out.
What?
The guy made a video, said he was going to commit suicide this morning.
I've never seen that.
Okay.
I'll send you. I'll put up the.
Yeah, it's 31 seconds.
It's on the chat. It's on the chat we have in the room.
Okay, what's the proper thing to do in that situation? Now, I say the proper thing to do in that situation is report him to YouTube as a person that's going to commit suicide. That's the only thing I can do.
Well, if we don't know where the person is or whatever, we can only engage with a person as much as our abilities can allow us to. I mean, it's not the most you can do in situations such as that is you just talk to people, and even in the medical as a medical professional coming across these people, then you talk with them, you find out the root of their problems.
If we develop a queuing process here, so everybody's on the same page about what we need to do in this situation, talk to them, keep them online for as long as you can, report them so they can get his IP address, and report that to the police so they can probably go to his house and do that.
But I think the problem with that is the police that make things worse. I mean, when was the last time you heard the police making...
Now we're drawing up hypotheticals.
I've heard many occasions where the police made things better. For example, when a psychotic patient has escaped the hospital and he wanted to kill people because the voice in his head told him to kill people, made a lot of things better. For example, he didn't become a murderer.
Yeah, but
and then that person made... with suicide, then they take that person to be assessed by a medical professional.
Yes.
That is. They're not going to lock him up.
There's an 8-day mandate.
That's not what they'll do. No, they'll take him to a hospital, for example, an A&E department. That's what happens in the UK. The A&E department assesses, sees that there might be a psychological problem in this situation. Then the mental health team gets called in. The mental health team assesses him, puts forward either a plan, or if the situation is very dire, then they commit that person in. The person can also informally commit himself into a psychiatric hospital, and they treat him until they can improve the situation. Now, that is what happens.
Yeah, we know that, but does that? I mean, I think it's questionable whether that helps him or not.
Because Team Mgtow, we're talking about Team Mgtow here. What Team Mgtow should? And there was another option that I thought was good. Start searching for him on Facebook. Start that search. If you start that search. You're assisting with the police and you're assisting with the problem. You might find his address, and then you have a hard or a state. We start dwindling this thing down because we need a queuing process here.
You see, if the system worked, we wouldn't have Mgtow. If the UK system worked, we wouldn't have Mgtow.
Right. Well, that's a broad statement there. That's huge.
Yeah, but it's true. I mean, if calling the police handle things, suicide, a psychiatric
Right.
What I'm saying is that in this situation, there is a clear protocol that is followed for both men and women, and the protocol dictates that the police takes the person to, because even if you call the doctor has no legal right to enter the premises.
Right.
So
The only people that have
you can knock on the
police are
door.
the only people that have. Yeah.
Yeah, we know that, but the argument is it effective?
Whether it's
I think
effective
so.
or not, I mean, I've seen a lot of people that have improved, and when the people get committed or not, there's very few people that do not improve in themselves. Very few, seriously, very few people.
Yeah.
No, and I'm not saying the psychiatric help doesn't have any positive effect. I'm saying, does calling the police have any?
There is no other way.
Yeah.
There is no other way.
There's no other way. Yeah.
Even
You're
the
not
police.
responsible for that man's actions. You're responsible. You're responsible to get him help.
What I'm saying is that.
But that's the point. If you're of the view that calling the police doesn't give him help, then you calling the police is not helping. I mean.
But you can't call anyone else.
All right. Okay. Just go with me. Just go with me on this one. Right. When is it that difficult?
Yeah.
I'm listening. Let me tell me.
Well then, let me say it then. Yeah. Okay, Joe. As Mgtow, as men that have dealt with the police, we know that when we dealt with the police, when people thought, well, the only option is to call the police.
Yeah.
We found that didn't help the case at all. In fact, in our cases, and I'm just talking generally here. Yeah, I'll go on to the specific of the psychiatric help and suicide in a minute. But normally, when people call the police, in our case, it made the things worse. In fact, if the police had probably kept out of my business, I'd still be seeing my kids. My ex-wife would still be living in 20 minutes away, and nothing would have happened. And quite often, women they get quite overwrought and over emotional, and they'll call the police, and things will get blown up when there's no need for it. Now the thing is, taking that into account, where people have that view. Now remember, the guy that made that video, I'm going to overdose and kill myself, he was black, and he was complaining about the police, and he was describing about race, being racially abused. Obviously, he's referring to the police as well. So when the police turn up, that's only going to aggravate him even more. And what's going to happen? Just go with me for a second here, and then he kicks off, and we know there's been some rather unfortunate incidences between black Americans and police. I understand your point. It's the only thing you can do. But if that's the only thing you can do, maybe you should just leave it.
Yeah.
No, I completely disagree.
Yeah, the logic gate on that one is, can I call a black policeman?
It's not just that, man. What I'm thinking is the police. When you call the police, it's not the police it's not the police that will show up on that person's home. First of all, by calling the police, what we talk about is calling 999 or 111 or whatever, right? And when you call the police, then that call will get triaged to the appropriate person. The police will tell you, okay, we will find the appropriate medical professional to go to this person, and they call an ambulance that goes and knocks on that person's door.
Right.
When the ambulance cannot gain access into that person's home because the person doesn't open, then the police is called. The police tries to knocks on the door. If the police cannot gain access, then they still don't have any legal right to enter the premises. Therefore, they need to call kind of like a clear. No. They need to get the clear from the court. There is an emergency court that can give them the clear. There isn't. What do you mean there isn't, man? I can call.
The police do not always follow that procedure. If there's a man in danger, their procedure, if they think there's a man or child or a person in danger or someone who they want to arrest in a house, they will break in.
But they're not there to arrest him. They're there to facilitate the medical team.
And they'll use that excuse that they think the man's in danger, and they will break in. They don't call any court.
But it's really about choosing a lesser of two evils in that situation, I think. And this is the situation we're faced with, I suppose, in this particular predicament.
I'm a very utilitarian person. I believe in using anything and everything in order to achieve a greater good.
I agree with that. But the thing is, as Mgtow, what we're saying,
Yeah,
we're trying to
Mgtow.
get away from the state and trying to get away, get away from. And now, see, this is my very
Yeah, I
point.
can see the hypocrisy in that. I can see
If
your
we're
point,
always
yeah.
trying to, if the system, see, my point is this: if the system is not working, and we're talking generally speaking now, if the system is not working, if the government and the police and the health professionals are letting men down, and the first reaction of Mgtow is, oh, this man wants to commit suicide, let's call the police. There's a hypocrisy in that. I mean,
What is the best thing we can do? Give me a better option.
you
Yeah,
see,
we
look, Nico, we
can
discussed
develop.
this.
That's my point was, can we develop a better way? And the queuing process would be simply keep them online, keep them talking, which is a good idea. Find in that process, you find out a few things. Did he take the pills? Did he not take the pills? If 4 hours later he's still talking, he did not take the pills. Wind him down.
You can't make that assessment because someone is talking when he took the pill. I'm just saying, medically speaking, that makes no sense.
Yeah, is he
Okay.
talking coherently? Yeah, if he's still coherent, then he didn't take the pills. Is it a
Still no medical basis to this.
All right, guys. What I'm talking about
I'm
is
sorry. Depending on the medication, it varies.
okay. What I'm talking about, guys, is somebody should have been there to catch him before he got to that state.
Yes.
Yes. As Mgtow, we talk about building a brotherhood. We talk about building a network. We talk about meetups and being proactive and being there for each other. Now the thing is, this guy, let's just assume that it's all genuine.
Let's do something else. Let's take him out of the equation and put Bob or Joe. Put Joe, me, in that situation. What would you do if it was me?
Yeah. I'm talking about Mgtow in general. I'm saying, somebody should have been there for him, and obviously, I think Nico, if you go back and if you what we discussed this morning, I said the best thing is if there was somebody in his area to go visit him, somebody in his area to go visit him himself, because I know if a policeman turns up in a lot of people's houses, the first thing is people that go all defensive. Police, they don't have a very good reputation for being, let's say, merciful.
Okay.
But the if does not apply in this situation, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this
The
was,
if does not apply. It's better to have prevention rather than curing
Exactly.
someone.
And that's
I
what I'm
agree.
saying.
Of course, I agree. I'm a huge believer in prevention, better than rather than running afterwards to fix things. But the situation of the matter is, for that person, prevention or whatever we could have done so far did not work.
Could have done.
Yeah, did not work.
Okay.
And for that person might kill himself. Might.
I argue I argue there was no prevention. I argue that this guy.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It does matter. The entire point is what works and what doesn't work at the moment.
What I'm saying is that yes, we need to have better prevention. What I'm saying it doesn't matter is that it doesn't matter for that individual right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Okay, let's apply this.
Okay, on that one instant, but what about in general? Well, when we're speaking in general, as a system, as a working society, as man, in the West, as men going our own way, as people living in the UK, in America, the system is not working. That is the entire point.
I completely agree. Yet when that's the only system we have in place, we can't get that guy, ship him over to the UK.
Oh right, so that's what I'm talking about.
So that I can talk to him.
Right,
that doesn't work.
Yeah, but you're not listening to what I'm saying. Okay, number one, you're not letting me finish. Number two, you're not listening to me. I'm saying Mgtow should be setting up a different system.
We should have Mgtow is the system.
Exactly, and I'm saying, there should, Mgtow guys should be looking out for each other. Guys should be networking. They should have their eye on each. If we carry on being so being so self-reliant on the system, nothing is going to change. You know, nothing. And there is that group of Mgtow that want this to go on, and they say, you know, this is good. The more men that commit suicide, the better. You know, they don't care about this. But I'm not on board with them. I'm saying we should be looking forward to a time where men, you know, do know each other, and you'll be hard pressed to find men that are committing suicide because, you know, men are looking out for each other. There's more compassion. There's a bigger network, and we're more self-reliant. You know, from you know, female validation and from the government and the system and from the welfare state, and you know, get away from being so reliant upon the government because it's not working. Yeah, and you all agree it's not working.
It's not working. Now let's look at this.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you on this.
We know about suicide, and we know, and we've all experienced this in my life, and it's always the guys that stop talking. You don't. We hear this all. I didn't realize he was in such bad state, or didn't see that one coming. It's always the guys that you didn't see coming, and that's an indication of what. It's an indication of the symptoms, and not seeing the symptoms simply means that he shut down. He wasn't talking.
And that's my message to Mgtow. My message to Mgtow is, no matter how bad things are, you know, keep in contact with guys. You know, keep the channels open. You know, let's not be so bogged down over you know, each other's beliefs or each other's race or you know, each other's caste. I mean, this is what I'm saying. You know, let's not talk about. This is why I was so upset with Stardust when he did that Muslim are not integrating into the West. You know, I mean, as if things aren't divisive enough. Let's see each other as men first of all, and let's see each other in the fact that as men we're getting a really, really bad deal, and let's see each other in the fact that we are our only hope. We can't go on with this thinking, oh, everything will be all right. The government will take care of it. Oh, you know, let's call the police. Now, I agree. Right at this moment, that man, when we're talking about this specific situation,
that's what I was doing.
That's all we can do. But I'm saying, in general, in a wider picture, in the bigger picture, in us four now talking to, making this podcast with everybody listening in, you know, we have to look beyond that.
Yeah, we're talking to we're talking to an audience here, and we have to. That's where we're going here. What process of Mgtow should we expect to see in these kind of situations? Well, if your buddy stops talking to you, it's a clear indication that there's something wrong. Let's get him back talking. Get him, see what the problem is. Sharing phone numbers here too, is that such a bad idea in Mgtow?
Exactly. I mean, it's funny because me and Nico, we've actually met up, and me and Nico, we've got each other's phone numbers.
Yeah, but I stopped doing the sharing phone number anymore.
I know, and you see, this is something which
because people abuse it.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is, to the general public, you know, there needs to be a greater tolerance. There has to be a great, and it's funny because. Here's me, a Muslim, saying this to the atheist community. You have to be more tolerant. You preach freedom of speech, but you hate any religious connotation. It all has to be atheistic. You know, it's so hypocritical to hear, you know, atheists saying, you know, anyone that has a belief in creationism is a lunatic. And then you have this like 20,000 subscribers. It's very, very irresponsible. And then you claim to be helping men.
Yeah.
But that is his personal opinion. Man, I do not believe in this. If you have a personal opinion, you share your opinion.
Okay.
That's it. You share your personal opinion.
But yeah, you will chastise people for using the word evil with women. I mean,
I've done that. That is my personal opinion. It's not chastise. What I've done is that I disagreed at length, and I made multiple videos about this. Whether people agree or disagree with me, that is just my opinion. And it isn't, man. You can't help absolutely everyone, and we need to remember that at the end of the day, man, I'm a doctor. I'm saying that quite clearly. I can't help 100% of the people that come to me. I try very hard to help 100% of all the people that come to me. Sometimes, because of who I am, because of my beliefs or whatever, and my beliefs in Mgtow are open for everyone to see, they're not going to get any help from me, or they might not agree with what I'm saying. More tolerance is of course necessary, and I've never had a problem with anyone that had any different beliefs to mine. Some people have a problem with my beliefs, but personally I don't have a problem sitting and talking to anyone that has different beliefs to me.
Okay, what about the Mgtow that describe women as evil?
I don't have a problem talking to those people. Do I not talk to Messenger?
What about Sexy Mgtow and Mgtow United?
I've sent Mgtow United a video that he used on his channel. I have a problem with Sexy Mgtow. I do not agree with a lot of the things that he says.
Me too. Me too. I'm using that as an example.
But if he was to ask me for help, any help, especially on something that I deem to be worthy, I will talk to him. If he needs help, I will talk to him.
That's my point. When we start drawing lines, he's not going to ask you for help if you're not talking to him. See, this is my point.
I don't want anyone and absolutely everyone to ask for my help. If someone believes that I am the right person to talk to and converse with about their problem, they can easily find. That's what I want. My email address is on every single video that I make.
Nico, I'm trying to say in general. Everything I'm saying now, I'm talking generally. I'm not saying you in specific. I'm saying when people they start drawing lines about, okay, this Mgtow guy, I don't not like what he's saying. I'm going to cut off from his group. And this is what we find. This is what we find now. For example, Stardust with atheism and theists. And now this Mgtow that call women evil, and Mgtow that don't say we should call them evil. This is what I'm seeing. People are drawing these lines. We're not going to talk to these people, and these aren't lines we should be drawing. Yet we draw a line where, for example, we say we won't let women into Mgtow. Yeah, okay. Well, the entire point of Mgtow was to help men anyway. But now when you start drawing lines, atheism and theists are using evil and not using evil. They're not going to ask for your help because you're not talking to them. You're not talking to them because you don't agree with them using the word evil. And my point is
I agree with you. I agree with you.
That's not a line to draw. Now you have to understand. I'm not saying you personally. Like I said, this is me speaking generally. And
possibly I'm being quite defensive because I have been involved in all of these chats, and I have taken a lot of the chats to heart a lot of the times, and I can say that quite clearly. I'm saying that all of us need to organize a certain way, and I have been very vocal, at least personally speaking. I'm not defending myself in any way now. I've been saying for a long time that Mgtow should create a system in which there could be support. MIA came as a result of many of the conversations that I've had and videos that I created, not just mine, Dark Nights as well, and the guys told me in a private message. And I am playing a role in MIA, and I will create more content for MIA, and they're doing a good job in trying to get more people and support people and all of that. So that's already happening, and that's not good enough. That's not good enough.
The problem with MIA is they are of the belief that men that call women evil, you shouldn't have anything to do with them. Unfortunately, and hopefully they'll behave this, and they'll remove that barrier. I don't think that's a barrier worth having within Mgtow.
It's not my personal barrier. It's a barrier that they artificially agreed with themselves.
I know that.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that some people within a certain, let's say, group, they need to have cohesive agreements in some of the things so that they can work together. If that is a line that they want to draw in the sand for themselves, that is something that they feel inclined to do. That's a totally different subject. And I mean, the way that I see it, and it's something that I might be working on, maybe create something that could potentially support men that is strictly business. And I believe the majority of people in Mgtow, inclusive Mgtow United and Sexy Mgtow, want to help other men, right? Yeah. And they all have their different interpretations of things, and they all have their different opinions about things, right? And they all want to help men. If we all work together on this common goal, which is to help men, we can achieve a lot of things and a lot more things. And I think we can all agree on that.
Okay, now, if we can agree on that point that Mgtow is about helping men and doing the best for men, then we have to. That has to be the priority. And
It is
unfortunately, yeah,
for me.
that has to be the priority. And we can't be letting our egos or our artificially constructed socially constructed groups get in that way. And unfortunately, I mean, even among the big channels, I'm seeing this now, and these are barriers that shouldn't belong in Mgtow. I mean, Mgtow is not going to work if we start putting up these barriers. I mean, we talk about freedom of speech. You know, we talk about you know, freedom and you know, just it just being about men, but you know, that's not going to survive if we start going down that route of dictating who can who can believe in what, you know, which man we're going to help based upon what he believes in, or you know, his view on women, because the thing is, a lot of the things are subjective. I mean, the word evil is subjective.
Yeah, what I know for a fact is that these people do not just help people that you know, only aspire to the women are not evil ideology. I think from what I understand, I don't remember everything from the top of my head, is that maybe for people to be within the group and for maybe cohesion of the group, I'm not really aware, is that they allow people that maybe agree with their interpretation of Mgtow. I think that's what it is there.
Okay, in conclusion, all I want to see is a lot more cohesion. I mean, we've worked so hard. I mean, the Mgtow numbers are as big as I know you probably think I'm quoting out of my videos here, but the Mgtow numbers have never been as big as they are today. And the fact is, a lot of these guys are bringing in a lot of baggage from their blue pill days, and the thing is, it goes back to what I said before. You know, every man is going to make a mistake. You know, we can't start regarding this channel as being the authority of Mgtow, because every person, every Mgtow, every man looks at each video, it looks at each channel and says, oh, this is the quality channel, this is what I'm going to take out of it. And if we start dividing up into who we think is a better Mgtow than the others, then Mgtow is going to fail. Believe me, it's going to fail, because everybody has a different view over who's best. What I'm saying, let's remember our objective when we first came here. It was about helping men, because we knew we are in this system. We see that there's nobody else helping us. The system isn't helping us. The police isn't helping us. The National Health Service is very, very limited. You know, we have to help ourselves. And if we don't help each other, there's nothing else for Mgtow. We start dividing up ourselves upon what we decide to be right and wrong. You know, yeah, obviously everybody has their borders, everybody has their limits, everybody has their interpretation of what's good and evil, right and wrong. But we have to be open to the possibility that we might be wrong. And I'm seeing less and less of this amongst Mgtow. That there's an absolutism being spread amongst Mgtow that if you're not of my certain caliber, if you're not of my certain belief, then you can't be in my group, and that's only one step away from being me versus you.
Well, yeah, I do not disagree with you on this matter. I do not. I believe that there needs to be, the thing is, there needs to be a cohesive kind of like move towards helping other men. Disagreements are inevitable. Sometimes very live and very violent disagreements are also inevitable. But we should never forget the common goal, and the common goal might be to help other men.
That's it. Yeah, that's what I was.
Yes, sorry. It's just if I can just finish, I just wanted to say, I wouldn't have said this normally. It's just at the moment I can see this happening amongst the mainstream of Mgtow. That's all. And I think that this just needs to be just. I think people are drifting away big time, and it's based upon barriers that shouldn't be in Mgtow. And I think if we took a consensus, I think most men in Mgtow would agree. You know, these are not reasons for us to cease talking. And I think people are taking ideological differences personally. And you know, this was never the purpose of Mgtow.
Well, as people do take ideological differences personally. Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of people that take things like that to heart. But unfortunately, you cannot really tell someone or an individual that they should who they should talk to and who they shouldn't talk to. That unfortunately you can't really persuade people to do that. Whether we can manage to persuade eventually people to work independently into achieving a common goal, that remains to be seen. I'm personally willing to work with anyone as long as we try to help other men. That is my goal. That's what I stand for.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. It's you know, men are the issue here, and it's only men, and we know from our experiences that we can't get help from the outside, and that's a given. So eventually, if this thing evolves like we'd like to see it evolve, Mgtow will become the go-to source for men, and that would be a beautiful thing.
Well, Joey, you know, I mean, you've been around for some time, and I think you know what I'm talking about when we sort of lose this camaraderie, when we lose this founding of you know, when Mgtow first come on, they have this passion, you know, for the brotherhood, for the male understanding, and like just somewhere on the way they lose it. Now this is never addressed.
Well, that's like I give the you know, and Nico attests to this too with people that they go to the doctor, they get some pills, no matter if they're, you know, psychotic pills or whatever pills they are, they start feeling better. The first response is to stop taking the pills.
Yeah.
And no, keep taking the pills because that's what's making you feel better. That's what we have to do here in Mgtow, because Mgtow's the same thing. You come in here, you start chatting, you get some help, you feel better about yourself, you start developing a manner of living that increases the quality of your life, and then you're feeling good. The first thing you're going to do is what? Stop taking the pills.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that is the natural human response. They believe that the majority of the things that they do happen on their own.
Yeah, but we're here to say, you know, keep on taking your pills. And I hate to say the Sandman line, and he says you need your daily dose of red pill. Some men need it. Some men may need a weekly dose. Some men may need a monthly dose. But the thing is, just keep doing this. Keep going. If it helped, great. If it doesn't help, there's 1,000 different other cognitive therapy programs out there that they can go to. And some men may need that. You know, hey, I'm not saying Mgtow is the cure all for everything, because we do have a general purpose here, don't we? If someone's got a problem with something else, they need to go somewhere else.
It's just you know, I look forward to the day when I mean, we did get a sense of it. I mean, for a while, and I think every Mgtow that comes onto the scene, they do get a sense of it when they see that their network starts growing, where they see their subscribers and their contacts and their comments, when they start increasing, they get a sense of that brotherhood. And I'd like to see the day where all Mgtow in the US know each other, where all the Mgtow in the UK know each other, where every Mgtow in London, they meet up weekly, where all the Mgtow in the North meet up weekly. I'd like to see that day. And the thing is, when that day comes, we won't need to call the police. We won't have homeless brothers walking about. We won't have, you know, men, or we'll have less men getting raped in court or getting put in prison for something that they didn't do. That's what I'm talking about. And hopefully...
Finish it, and I'll tell you what I'm saying. It's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing.
Okay.
We're kind of getting close to the summations here, so it'd make a great summation if we'd all end on this point.
So hopefully, you know, yeah, I'm sure everyone listening and everyone that's going to hear this podcast would agree with me on that. And seeing as we're just summation, all I want to say in summation is we're drawing lines in Mgtow that shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be differentiating because this guy's atheist, this guy's not atheist, this guy's black, or this guy's white. And we're seeing these things as well. You know, and these things we need, guys. They weren't here 3 months ago, or they were a lot less visible, and now they're just beginning to creep in, and I think everybody's on board with me there. So.
Yeah, well, what I'm going to say is that I'm aware of a project that's going to allow that to happen. So I'm not allowed to discuss it, I'm not allowed to talk about it, but I'm aware that there is already work in progress in order to achieve that. All right, so that is hopefully going to work out eventually. I'm not sure about the ETA on that type of project, but it's going to be a real project, and it's going to bring people together.
Just on a side note, I think it would be fair if people then ask me, well, how do we do this? You know, how do we attain this this bliss, this paradise of brotherhood? And I'm saying to you guys, and guys, get this to as many people as you can. It's this simple. Just forgive each other.
Yeah.
Whatever your brother said, whatever he did, you know, forgive him. So long as he's within Mgtow, so long as he's within the manosphere, forgive the guy. You know, take that thing away from your heart. Take it away.
I would disagree with that, but I would say that who you choose to associate with and who you choose to not associate with, it's up to you. At the end of the day, people will eventually invariably draw lines in the sand. Right. But as long as we have a united community of people who understand that the main goal is to work for the bettering of all men, then we should be able to achieve a lot more. And people will have the choice on who they want to talk to and who they don't want to talk to.
You can talk to whoever you want to. Make your own friends. You have the right in this world to choose your own friends, but always put principles before personalities.
Yeah.
Cyrus, got any closing measures?
Yeah, I would simply say this. I think that Mgtow, the reasons we're having these problems that we're having is because it's starting to reflect wider society. And that's why those issues that are within wider society are encroaching into Mgtow, is because we are becoming reflective of that, just because Mgtow is growing as a philosophy. But to sum up, I think as long as we don't lose our sense of ourselves, of what we are setting out to do as men, and that we understand both from a scientific perspective and also from a philosophical perspective, that we are all a part of each other as human beings, and when we extend that courtesy to one another, I think we'll fare well. I don't think there's, in the long run, I don't see these problems being a real issue.
Yeah. My thoughts was, men, if you do anything good for yourself, get a phone number from one other guy, and share your phone number with one person in here you can trust, and that way the rest of the community could always know that you're safe. They can contact that one other guy. We do these things for men. It's the things we can't get out in society. We can help out. We can share. We can talk online. But that's the extent of our capacity right now. But if Mgtow grows the way we want to see it grow, and we become active in our communities and active in all of our measures, and we put these principles before these personalities, we're going to grow into something beautiful and big and huge, and it will take the place of the ongoing failure that the government has. That's about all I got to say today.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah.
I'm going to stop the broadcast on that point.
Okay, yeah.